Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. This the space has finally happened. I've been having a very interesting week. I'm gonna leave it right there and not burden y'all with my life. But it's been an interesting week. Well, anyway, we've been toying around with this topic. This topic is an homage to Dr. Amos Wilson. Dr. Amos Wilson said that the brother on the street with the Glock is not your biggest worry. Your worry is the white man with a well manicured lawn that sits behind a desk and develops the new nuclear weapon. He said, your worry is a white man that sits behind a desk with a well manicured lawn, suit and tie, that's developing a new biotoxin that will wipe out the whole fucking human race. So I want to kind of go into that because my specific demographic is heavily under attack. That demographic being foundational Black American men. We saw Obama's ignorant ass comments the other day. And Obama really just kind of brought that to the forefront that we serve as a scapegoat for this country. And there are a lot of reasons for that. So let's open the floor. Who's a bigger threat? Who's a bigger danger to society? The thug on the street or the PhD? What y'all think?
PhD for sure. And I would expand that to include Afrocentric and Pan African PhDs because they also add to that anti Black American rhetoric. I thought we were going to discuss rhetoric, but you went way off. And you're talking about nuclear weapons, of course. Yeah, that is way more. They are very dangerous. But if I rein it back in a bit, um, I would say that yes, the teachings of Afrocentric and the teachings of Eurocentric people have really damaged everybody. Because do white people want to live in ignorance? Do Swedish white people want to be told that they didn't discover the New World when they have settlements here years before the English? The English man is the Eurocentric leader. These other groups are not. They have to bend down and bend the knee to the Englishman. And then,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
yep. And Wani, I was just giving an homage to Dr. Amos Wilson. He took it all the way there. But yeah, we're talking about rhetoric. And as some of you know, I'm working on I'm just concluding research on a book, a really interesting book that talks about the origins of the foundational Black American, the true origin. And back to Wani's point, guys, I'm having a conflict of conscious. Like my research is really fucking with my head. Those of you don't know, my primary job right now is I teach ancient world history in two sections of constitutional law, and I'm realizing through my research that this history is a goddamn narrative that's just predicated on a lie. Well, tell me why I'm finding out that there have been well documented cases of Egyptian artifacts found in southern Illinois, for Christ's sake. But we'll get to that later on. Fish and grits, talk to me.
I believe that
No,
those
no.
Egyptians got around because they found some hieroglyphics, believe it or not, and they're studying it and getting mad in Australia. And they said two Egyptian brothers visited there and they got shipwrecked. One of them died of a snake bite and was buried there, and the other one lived among them. And they had things in common in terms of their spirituality. And they also showed where Egyptians had put on their hieroglyphics somebody throwing a boomerang. We know where that came from, and some other things that look like Australians to. Um, Honor the meeting between the two, which I don't know how they could do that because they didn't go back. So I I don't know what's
E- e-
going on with those two people.
exactly. And before fish and grits goes, man, like I'm gonna give y'all just a little bitty taste of what my research is going. Look up Burroughs Cave. There was an army colonel who in Illinois who stumbled upon a cave in Illinois that had like tons of gold coins. Apparently, it had dead bodies down there, Egyptian dead bodies. I went to a graduate school that one of the few graduate schools that has an Egyptology program. Princeton has one. Harvard has one. Uh, I said Princeton. University of Chicago has one. Well, very few programs have an Egyptology program. And anyway, my point is, like at my graduate school, I snuck into like the closed Egyptology museum that was never open when I was studying there, and took some pictures that I've shared on X of fucking mummies that are jet black, and bodies like Egyptian bodies being cut out of stone, this straight vitrified, like they melted out of stone. Who had a laser back then? But my point of bringing this up is through my study on this current book, I'm starting to see that I think America used to be whatever Egypt was, or like maybe Egypt was a larger colony than just Eastern Africa. But I'm starting to all my dots are connecting, and what Jacob Carruthers said. Jacob Carruthers drew a comparison academically to the phenotype of the kemetic or quote unquote Egyptian woman and the black woman in Chicago, and it's lining up. I'm like, holy shit, the black woman in Chicago is kemetic. We are the Kemites. We're living in a goddamn lie. But I'm sorry
Yep.
for that.
Yep.
This
Everything.
is why that connection to King Ramses III keeps popping up on the male side of Black American men that take the test. And we were alerted to this. We're not making this up. We had these genetics people in these genetic fields are telling us about this, and they're saying, hey, this guy has the same family line. It's not just a similar haplogroup, but it's you're related to this person. So maybe they, grabbed up a group of them. I don't know what they
And
did.
and and, and that
We're still working it out.
that would make perfect sense to me if we were the Kemites, related to the Kemites, because that would explain why archaeology and this academic canon that I'm stuck in goes out of its way to tell black people who we are. Like if you know what I'm saying, if we were slaves,
It does. It
yes,
doesn't do that to anyone else.
because they don't want us to stumble upon who we think
One thing I will say is that they had everybody trying to see what they were into, always going to see what Egypt is doing so you can pattern it after them. Huh, that sounds familiar.
Wait, okay, expound on that. Expound on that a little bit more, Wani.
And I'm talking about powerful empires going to Egypt repeatedly. Go ahead, Nikki.
No, I want you to expound. Well, first of all, I was just going to say a thug on the street just has no power. They have no education. They have
Nikki?
no. Y'all can't hear me?
I can.
Uh-oh, what's going on with the mic?
Oh,
I hear you loud and clear.
she can't hear me? Okay. I can hear her. So I guess I'll have to drop down and then you'll have to let me back up so that Wani can hear me.
Got it. And Fish and Grits, I hadn't forgot you. We're coming around to you, just kind of deviated a little bit. This is very important. Um, Go ahead and drop down, Nikki. I'm gonna bring you right back up as co-host. But yeah. So man,
Wait, could you hear Nikki?
I heard her perfectly fine. This topic is gonna get their attention. You know it
Oh my
is.
goodness.
But they can bring it. I don't care. Um, let's see. There she is. Hold on, I'm gonna add her to co-host. But yeah, like I'm doing research and finding out that it's just overwhelming evidence to show that whatever the Kemites were, what the research that I'm finding is that America has a possibility of being Timeri, which there's a Mary in there, America to marry. So those of you who don't know, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen said it was a sister cities. It was Kim, Kemet and Tamaria, and there was Atlantis, Kemet, Timeri. So I'm starting to wonder if America was Timeri, but we'll get to that in a moment. Nikki, you back?
Well,
Go
they
ahead.
said America was definitely not named after Amerigo Vespucci because they would never name something after the person's first name. So that's one thing. Go ahead, Nikki.
Well, um, I'm just starting back with the title and then we can go into everything else because that's more. But thug has no power at all. They have no money. They have no Well, some thugs are educated, street educated, or they go to the library and they just read. But A thug has no power to be a bigger danger to anyone. But I was trying to expound on what you were saying about them going to Egyptian. Low, why did you put a thumb down?
I disagree with what you said. Why
With
did
the
you
You
what?
put
can.
a thumb down? I disagree with what you said. This idea that thugs don't have the what is it? Don't have the power to be a
They have
threat to
power.
to society. That there's no
Yeah,
power.
where did she come from?
No clue.
You mean
So
I,
so so you're saying that you disagree with the fact
a
that thugs?
bigger threat than people that make atomic weapons?
Yeah, we're just trying to understand. What do you mean, Lo?
Yeah, I just agree that there is no power in these people. I think that there's an attempt to make us believe that um, people don't have power, but I think thugs certainly have power.
yeah, but have you looked at the title, sweetie?
Yeah, I think you're losing context. And
Yeah,
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So what does the title say?
Speaking about being a danger to society.
Who? No, it says who is a bigger danger. Did you see the word bigger?
Yeah, I
exactly.
did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that you got kind of caught up. Nobody's saying that a thug doesn't have power, but it's a bigger danger to society. So you kind of got skew on that. But we'll get to you in a moment, Lo, because after Nikki's done, Fish and Grits was up. Go ahead, Nikki.
No, I just wanted her. I wanted Wani to expound. I've been sitting with her all day. She's been like going over things with me. I just wanted her to expound on what when they go to Egypt and they're getting ideas and they bringing them back. What did you mean by that?
Well, the Greek, every time you look up something that the Greco Roman Empire or Greeks did, they always write about going to Egypt to get inspiration for the scale, the music scale, everything, clothes, aesthetics, everything you can think of. They got a lot of inspiration on every level. They went to the mystery schools, they were initiated, they did all of these things, and they kept going over and over and over again. They also studied under Imhotep's writings. He was dead by the time that they got there, but they studied his works and they built their whole medical belief systems on this tiny little man. And I just find it amazing that these people are like a beacon to the ancient world, and people are just constantly visiting them and talking about it. This was before the arrogance and the utter stupidity and the pompousness, because they would write about going. They were proud to have been accepted and taught these things. They were. They didn't have that arrogant attitude that we see now.
Yeah, that arrogant attitude. I hate to say it. I don't want to doom my channel. Let's put it this way: there's a certain church behind all of this. Y'all already know where I'm going with this. Let me put it to you this way: Pope Innocent, I think the second, is the one who doomed all people of African descent or dark people to slavery. So I'm starting to see a certain church involved with this historical narrative. But like Wani said, that's true. And to drive that point home that Wani said, the creator of medicine was Imhotep, right? So, and Hippocrates, the white man who studied after Imhotep, proudly stated that I am a student of Imhotep. So why in the fuck do our medical school graduates have to take a Hippocratic oath? This is all a narrative to, I don't know if it's to help the European self-esteem. I don't know what it is, but because it doesn't, it seems
I
like,
used to say this in school. I would tell the teacher, why don't you end all the sentences with for the white man? And then we can have an actual discussion. So she was, oh, Columbus discovered the world for the white man.
that's hilarious.
Well, the gorilla was discovered for the white man. Well, we just discovered this life for the white man because the other people already know about gorillas and lions and everything else. So they're discovering these things, quotation marks, for themselves, and they're trying to convince me that they've discovered something. Yeah, you going over to Egypt and getting a musical scale and some medical advice and a whole medical um, foundation is you discovering things again. So just say you discovered it for the white man, and then we'll be up to speed.
And I couldn't agree more with that. The problem is our children have been brainwashed. You're calling some shit the Pythagorean theorem when Pythagoras, who was too old to join the mystery schools, was invited to the I think the temple at Luxor. Somebody fact check me on that. One of the temples, and saw it on the wall and wrote it down, took it back to Europe with them. And Pythagoras again clearly stated that this is not mine. I took this from I learned this from the Egyptians. But what does that psychological warfare machine does? It says the Pythagorean theorem. So you got people like me in algebra 1 in high school seeing a white man associated with the Pythagorean theorem and thinking, "Oh shit, that ain't for me. That's for somebody else. Let me find entertainment or sports." And to close on that point, I remember several years ago I went to Barnes and Noble. That's one of my favorite shops. I guess y'all could have guessed that one, but they had a big old tub full of free books. I said, "Free books? What the fuck?" So I grabbed a handful of them and was looking at them. I was like, "Oh, this is propaganda. This is psychological warfare." The books had the greatest scientists or some shit, and had a big old picture of Albert Einstein's white face on it. I'm like, you're teaching these kids what their place is in society, and you're telling the foundational black boy and girl that your place ain't science. They ain't got nothing to do with you. Go ahead, fish and grits. Can you hear me, fish and grits?
Yeah, I got
Go ahead,
my
go
phone up. I
ahead,
got
go
you. Um,
Okay.
how you doing, everybody? Real quick, who's a bigger danger to the society? The PhD and the person with in a position of authority. Those are the most dangerous people because they block other black people and poor minorities from gaining opportunity. And I don't want to be too long, but just say our good friend Obama. Um, when they be in these date rooms and stuff, just saying, I was just in one of them date rooms and shit. And one of the things that get hollered, our new name is Pookie and Ray Ray. That was a term that Obama gave us. Obama called us Pookie and Ray Ray, and he did that after
ahead. You weren't
Katrina.
talking.
He did that after
I give
Katrina.
up.
That's me. Anybody, you can hear me?
I hear you, bro.
Uh, yeah. After during Katrina, they hired the black men. They hired the black men in the area initially for 2 3 weeks. Then they fired them. They hired the Mexicans, and then they put the black men on the news talking about Pookie and Ray Ray don't want to work. And I land on that.
Wow. I think Seventh Ward, you had your hand up. It went down, but you still had a comment.
Yeah, thanks. To contribute to the topic, the thug or the PhD. Look, I grew up in a family with gang gangsters. They didn't do anything to me. As a matter of fact, they protected me. The PhD, well, I hold a PhD, and I do a lot of research in science and technology. And the thing that really scares the shit out of me is nanobots. Because if this technology gets into the hands of people who abuse it, they can kill people without anybody, undetected, because they could build little small machines you can't see with a regular microscope. We're talking, you got to have like an electron microscope to see these machines. And these machines can get in your body and they can deliver poisons and kill you. I mean, and the poisons can be, I'm not talking about poisons like drugs like fentanyl. I'm talking drugs like carfentanil, which is more powerful than fentanyl. Or I'm talking drugs like botulinum toxin. They can put that in you and kill you, and no one can detect it. And that's what really scares me. And I'm hoping that I'm bringing it out. It gets people aware of it, so they get the jump on it and they stop it. And with that, I yield the mic.
Um, I have a doctoral level education. I'm not PhD, but anyway, long story short, I worked in a cohort of PhDs, and I want y'all to hear me real closely on how dangerous this shit goes. And I'm thank you, Seventh Ward, for reminding me about that. My life has been so much going
Yes,
on. I
sir.
forgot that I actually worked on it. I've told y'all before that I worked on I wrote a congressional report for COVID-19. I basically um, I was I'm trying to shorten this. I don't want to give y'all a whole book chapter. I was a professor on a research study ordered by Congressman Steve Cohen to research COVID-19, specifically what they wanted to know. Let me give you one objective. It was multi-objectional, but the one objective is they wanted to know what you could do psychologically to get people to take the shot. You see what the fuck I'm going with this? So I realized the power of these PhDs on that study, because they had me, my one of my areas of expertise is motivational psychology. Educational psychology is motivational psychology is part of educational psychology. So they were trying to figure out how we could get into size people's heads and what could we say. And I realized how the level of manipulation is so fucking deep, y'all. They had me breaking down lexile levels. So they took data from the black zip code and analyzed samples to find out where people's lexile, like the overall lexile, what reading level they were reading on. And we identified, well, probably eighth grade, seventh to eighth grade is general. And once you got seventh to eighth grade, like we were researching, one of my colleagues was researching on what we could say to them to make them favor the shot. I was like, holy shit, this is evil. And but anyway, all of our research leads into billboard. So the billboards you see on the side of the road and the ads you get on your phone have been researched by a whole team of PhDs. Like, it's manipulation, it's mind control, ladies and gentlemen. Caesar.
Can I get
Well,
wait, wait,
oh,
can I get 15 seconds to push back on that microbot thing? Because I understand where you're going with that, but I want to push back because I seen something that some useful
You,
information on
you,
that.
you got 20 seconds. Go.
Yes, microbots is actually they're trying to use like the technology for microbots is they're modeling as them after ants. So like you know how ants will come together and build and put and float and be on a raft and make a raft to float together and things like that. That's what that's the technology. That's the animal they're using to make the technology for it. But you're gonna use it to for dangerous work that they don't want to put humans into. So the dangerous places that humans they get into, that you can fuck around, get crushed and shit. You ain't gotta do that no more. Put a bunch of these little robots in there, and they do that. And I'm laying on that.
All right, go ahead, Caesar.
thank you, thank you. Really interesting stuff. I wanted to jump back with, I believe it was Sister Lonnie was mentioning. I thought that was genius. She said, add, it's the first time I heard that. It says,
Wait, who's
add,
speaking? Who's speaking right now?
It's
excuse,
Caesar's talking.
Okay, go ahead.
okay. So I thought it was genius where it said, for white people at the end. And it made me think of something that I always thought and I wanted to get, it made me think of my field of musical anthropology and how the clave had been, I'll say, appropriated by Europeans as well.
The
Whereas
what?
the
What's the
clave,
name?
they'll call it
What's
the clave.
what is it?
Clave is a time signature syncopation that is now
Oh,
easily identified in West African music. You hear it in New Orleans second line music through the horn patterns like bum 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 bum. You hear that in a lot of Brazilian music, Latin music, and essentially it's an autochthonous rhythm format that we just innately have always embodied as dark folks throughout the planet, just being able to have that resonant connection. And so the reason I bring that up is
Interesting.
right, right. And you hear it throughout all our patterns of music. So there's certain things that we I've identified are able to just naturally embody and resonate within the planet. But then the Eurocentric format and approach to discovery always requires dominating the thing, eviscerating it, pulling it apart, ripping it to shreds in order to understand it. Whereas, we could still keep things intact in nature in order to essentially learn it and work alongside it, right? And the reason I bring up the clave is because that's a Spanish word. So the Spanish then took this thing and said, "Oh, this is called clave." It's just like, well, clave, you can call it clave, but this is also ritual. This is used in healing. This is used in
but
communication.
which music are we speaking about in West Africa, though?
Yeah, sure. So, there's a few different time signatures, but I would say more so there's Bantu rhythms and Yoruba rhythms that have migrated into the clave over into the Americas. I say they were interpreted into clave, and it's really a time signature
I
that can
don't
be done
believe
with.
it at all.
Hmm?
Prove it. Prove it.
Prove what? I'm sorry.
That we brought your African music over here. Show me the music they were playing because they don't have what were they playing? Show me
Who's
these time signatures in West Africa that they were playing.
who's we? I'm sorry. I'm missing the question.
Where are you from?
My family is Dominican and Venezuelan by
Okay.
ancestry. Yeah.
So, yeah, we made our own music
A hundred
and
percent. Yeah.
it doesn't have anything to do with West African rhythms because we sought out West African rhythms. We sought out Latin music because we didn't know it. That's why Dizzy Gillespie created Latin
Hmm.
jazz using those rhythms.
Oh yeah.
So
No.
how
Hmm.
did we bring something? I don't think people understand the concept of slavery. We didn't come over with a jukebox on a
Hmm.
slave ship. We're not allowed to play music for years.
Yeah, I agree. No, and I think we're saying the
Drums
same
were
thing just differently.
forbidden. How are people going to maintain some style when they're not allowed to play drums? Are we
And
playing them in secret? I don't know how that could happen.
and
Drums are very loud.
what Wani's saying is so perfect
Yeah.
because it's right in line with this weaponized academia.
Hmm.
Academia, and nobody's saying you did anything wrong, brother. You're part of the brain. You've been brainwashed. I'm assuming that you've been brainwashed to think to there's a causal connection between what foundational Black
Mhm.
Americans do and what Africa does.
Yeah,
They've made
and
that
I think
connection to
I
take us away from our homeland, which is
a
the United
hundred
States of
percent
America.
no, and I think I was clumsy in the way that I said it because that's not what I
I
intended.
think people just need to show me a music genre from West Africa that is doing all these scales, and I'll back up because you can't show me current music. You can't say, oh, here, listen to Afro beats when all of those things
Right.
were
Yeah.
created from us. You need to
That
show
came
me
from
some
James Brown. Yeah.
real traditional music
Yeah.
that they were playing these scales. Now, I will say that down in South America, among Siberian originated peoples, they had a scale of their own that they were
Hmm.
playing across Patagonia. I don't know
Hmm.
how that got incorporated with other people, but they had their own scale that wasn't from, I don't know where it came from, but they had a
Yeah.
scale that they were playing flutes and things on. So I just want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hear all these West African um, melodies and lyrics and super cool
You're
beats. I need to
you're
hear
you're right.
those.
You're right. It's not melodic, so you're 100% on point with that. And especially when you brought up the Afro beats, I personally understand that that was taken from James Brown. So a lot of that they had to come back to James Brown, and James Brown developed
Again,
polyrhythms,
that's
himself.
right. And
Yeah.
again, there wasn't that arrogance. There was a happiness that a person
Right.
like James Brown would accommodate a person like Fela Kuti that
Yep.
most people never heard of. He was happy about that. And he was happy to write articles and books about how that music genre came about by him getting us to give him one. Uh,
Hmm.
but now the arrogance is so high that Africans literally were fighting with the Grammy Awards, who said that in essence, this is just African hip hop. They want to pretend like they created this in a bubble, and there's too much information saying that they didn't. I mean, the whole thing. There's no kind of music that's not a version of something we did.
Oh, 1,000%. And one thing that I've always actually had to argue with Hispanic people, with Latin American people, is I told them you wouldn't have salsa music if it wasn't for foundational Black American music. If it wasn't for,
Explain that to me. I
well,
understand about Latin jazz because that's simply Dizzy Gillespie wanting to
right,
do beats
yeah,
and having the uh, appreciation in the class to say Not only am I going to use this beat because I like it and I want to do something different, but I'm going to use authentic players. I'm not just going to appropriate it and say that I came up with this
Yeah.
beat. This is class.
Yeah. No, I
This
mean,
is
just
class. He went and particularly got people that were known for that. And the difference is that other groups appropriate our stuff and then say, "Oh, we came up with this K-pop on our own. We didn't get it from you. This is American music." There's no such
yep.
thing as American music.
No, no, I love it. And you're right, because Dizzy Gillespie is one of the names that I use in this context of conversation when I'm talking about salsa to like Hispanic folks. Because I'll tell them, I'm like, well, you do understand that all the music that was pre 1940s in Latin America, you just had little combos of like, a guy who's playing the tom tom, conga, a guy playing an accordion. You did not have the big band format that salsa music has today. That was learned from Cab Calloway, Dizzy Gillespie, and a host of other folks in the Northeast, when you had the first wave migration of Afro Cubans who had then were working and being commissioned to play in these bands. So the game that Hispanic Afro Latin musicians had in that time, they obtained through the jazz movement that was already well established with foundational Black Americans. So that's why you listen to salsa music today. It has that jazzy sound. It has a ton of horns. It has all that. That didn't come from Puerto Rico. That didn't come from Venezuela. That didn't come from Colombia. They do it now, but that was inherited and learned from those early rhythmic pioneers who were allowed in the space of those of the likes of Dizzy Gillespie, etc. And I could talk about this stuff all day,
Well,
but
I want to kind of interject. Like this is such a perfect opportunity. Let me elaborate on what Wani was allowing me to bring up, and I want y'all to hear this clearly. The academic canon, the academic, what's the word? Official academia. You understand me? Is no different. Okay, the apparatus of academia is no different than the military apparatus. Let me put it to you in a term that's very easy to understand. Where are most of our weapons created? At MIT, at Georgia Tech. They Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, they go to schools of engineering to get new ideas. So why wouldn't, if they go to the schools of engineering to get ideas on how to make the new fucking drone or the new weapon, what makes y'all think that their social science departments are not weaponized? What in the fuck makes y'all think that their history departments are not weaponized? I'm on some fucking groundbreaking shit. Like, I've been blowing my mind this week with what I've been studying for my new book. And what I'm starting to realize, holy shit. These schools of history, these schools of archaeology have an objective. They have basically a military objective to warp history and kind of what do you call it? Put up a red herring, a smokescreen to keep our eyes off the prize. How this ties into what y'all were saying is Wani brought up a very simple point. She said, "Show me the evidence that this came from West Africa." Nobody can do it because it don't exist. Uh, we've been hit with a red herring of everything you have came from Africa, which is not true. Nobody can prove it. Furthermore, there's evidence to show that America is a very ancient place. We're gonna talk about that a little bit further. But did you want to land, bro?
real quick, and I'll keep it concise. I just wanted to reiterate that I was more so wanting to illuminate the commonalities that dark folks on the planet, we seem to understand things like musical signature without having it to be explained to us. Because I agree, I'm actually a really big um uh geek about the ancient American history, and I believe in the tie of it to ancient Egypt. I spent a lot of time in Arizona, and so I've known about the Grand Canyon and the Hohokam. So this is something that actually I'm passionate about. So I like that the room kind of took a turn to talk about that. But when I was referring to the music, by no means was I suggesting that the music that developed here is straight from West Africa. That is not the point that I was trying to say. I'm saying that there's a coincidence that certain rhythms, you find them throughout the planet, even though we may have not even had to been connected in that direct lineage way, if that makes sense. My only reason for bringing that up is that I'm saying when Europeans interface with us, no matter where we are on the planet, they have to immediately name it, claim it, and explain its origin to us, thus leading to the brainwashing, as you mentioned, Professor. That's all I was trying to get out.
We
Well
get
said.
that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we get that, but listen to the way that they do it. If you have a eurocentric individual spouting off about everything coming from Africa, right? We have them sitting on the left side. And then we have an Afrocentric individual spouting off about how Africa has great families and the village takes care of itself. And we need to get back to their spirituality. Of course, the guy is sitting in New Jersey and has never been to Africa. We have them saying that and that everything came from Africa. He hasn't been there and he doesn't know what Africa has or doesn't have, doesn't know what their cultures are. So, where does that leave us? If we, both sides are saying that we don't exist, both sides are saying that uh, we're invisible. We have to pay homage to people that sold us into slavery,
Fact.
and we have to pay attention to the people that bought us. So I'm not listening to either one personally because they're
Yeah,
both
I like
wrong
that.
and they can't come up with any. And when we start talking about food, point blank, we have white people like Paula Dean talking about that Southern cuisine. And we have Africans running around with cookbooks rambling about how Nigerian food is the roots of Black American cooking. Now, anybody who's eaten West African food knows that's not true. But
Hell no.
for people that haven't or just want to say everything is connected, well, I ask you, we have a cookbook from 1848 that was published. Africans have nothing. They don't have anything drawn on a cave wall. They don't have any kind of food that we could have taken from because they were colonized, and everything that they were colonized was just a French dish that we would have gotten anyway if we lived in Louisiana. So they didn't give us anything. The notion of using rice, yeah, those Europeans were making rice dishes. Africans do not have a cookbook to prove what they were cooking, but what I do know is that today they eat a lot of bush meat and they don't have a lot of, they have a public cuisine and then they have a real cuisine. Just like they have a public age of consent that the international community agrees with, and then they have the real age of consent where they trade a 9-year old for a goat. So they don't have this West, I'm speaking about West Africa. Ethiopia is different. They have a completely different food history, which evolved over years and involved different people with different things. So they do have their own food history. I was speaking about West Africa. They're not in a position to offer roots to anybody on anything. They don't even have proof that they had a drum over there. That is the level of not taking care of business and not preserving your history. They're on the oldest drum found is in China, 5,000 years old,
And
not
all this
Africa.
is facts coming out Wani's mouth. I spent some time in West Africa. Those of you who are new to my channel, and I was shocked because I was expecting to see something very old, but I saw a very colonized group of people who I knew more about my history than they knew about theirs. Like our brother Tariq Nasheed says, they got remixed by the colonists. But there's an exciting part to this equation that I'm discovering in my first week of research for my new book. The exciting part of this equation is if you sit back, zoom out, macro, and look at all the effort, look at the massive scale of trying to hide the true history from us. We just talked about a whole gigantic continent of Africa where the Europeans went out their way to remix them and give them a narrative to give to us, right? And then the European uses their academic canon, which is a goddamn lie. I mean, I'm so let down. I spent my whole life in school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel what if I the truth has come from my own research, right? But so they're doing all this work to throw us off of the truth. Now here goes the exciting part. Why are they working this hard to keep us from the truth? What is the truth? It's exciting. Seventh Ward, talk to us.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to comment on what you said about the military funding a lot of research. And a lot of my research is funded by the Office of Naval
Yep.
Research. And the office, and they fund me to do research into stealth aircraft. And right now I'm
Careful
working
what you
on a
say. Careful
paper.
what you say.
Look, don't worry, it's going to be public in when I publish the paper, I can DM you a manuscript. But yeah, like they
Yeah,
fund
but
a lot of this
please,
stuff.
please be
And
careful what you say in here. Please, just yeah,
oh, don't hey, don't worry, I can take it. I can
yeah.
take
But
it.
there's other
Don't.
licensed people in here, so just
Oh
be
yeah.
careful. Okay.
Yeah, and I used to
All
work in
right.
that
Oh,
world, in that
don't. But my research is not classified. It's not classified. So but yeah, like they fund a lot of this stuff, and they paying me, so I guess I can't complain too much. But yeah, with that, yeah, I'll yield the
yeah,
mic
that's
on
brought
that.
money back, and I really enjoyed my work with that community. But yeah, I just wanted to bring home the point. I have a friend. Well, I don't know if I want to call her a friend. She's a colleague, and she's at my graduate school getting her master's in what's that called? I think it's either anthropology is one of those, and she's black, foundational Black American, and they're making her her committee has picked her thesis topic, which is what happened to me with my dissertation. They made me pick, but they didn't make me pick something, but they told me what I couldn't do. Basically, those you don't know, you get a panel of professors who approve your topic and then kind of walk with you through your research, and then they look over your thesis or your dissertation, or in my case,
I picked
yeah, in
mine.
my case, both of them. But but anyway, my point of bringing that up is they're making her do research on locations of foundational Black Americans. Like what did foundational Black Americans do during the yellow fever scare in Memphis? They had a yellow fever breakout that Black people survived, white people didn't, which is why Memphis is black, because white people ran away from the river. Like we had some type of immunity to that mosquito. But anyway, I was listening to her talk about what they're making her do her research on, basically, and I was like, oh shit, what they're gonna do with that research, they're gonna incorporate that into like epidemiology to try to keep us from surviving another outbreak. You see what I'm saying? Like it's all about, and I'm not gonna steal this idea. This came from Dr. Laila Africa, one of the if y'all ever get some time, look at his he's dead now, but look at his YouTube videos. He was a military officer. I think he was a military he was an officer in the army. I think he was a psychological warfare officer, and he talked about what I'm saying. He said they use your thesis and dissertations to figure out a way. They'll use foundational Black Americans to write a dissertation that's going to help them destroy foundational Black Americans. Come on, Andy, and then Ramon.
Hey, how are you? I have
Hey,
been sick, so that's why I've been slow to log on, and Andrew's really been cutting up in the background. But anyway, how are you doing? Oh, I've missed y'all, and I was trying to when I saw that topic, I DM'd you like crazy. I was like, oh, please get on, and I just was like, I'm gonna listen to this because this is something that we have been wrestling with. When I say we, I mean me, myself, and I in my mind of how our academia, Black academia, has been harming us. And it's no laughing matter, people. I love when you brought up about the schools, the military, and its connection. What you're talking about, sir, is institutions. And you know how they'll say if you go to the pen and you stay for like 40 years, you come out institutionalized. It's the reason why they use that particular term. It's militarized, it's weaponized, and they use institutions to exclude us. Religion is an institution, academia is an institution. We know the military is an institution, so is commerce, so is education. So, I mean, we just go medical. I meant medical, the legal, everything. So these institutions are pillars in white society, in white supremacy, the religion of white supremacy, the ideology that uh, births these different things that are weaponized against blackness. So naturally, I had to hop on, but I wanted to bring up a topic. You were speaking about the research used against us medically. So I can't prove it. Um, and I hope to God somebody sitting listening to this will back me up or be like, yeah, Andrea, I have been told this. So my people told me, by my people, I mean my grandmother, and I'm going to use Wani's word, autoclotchinus. She was autoclotchinus, Wani. She told me that when she was a little girl, Black people could not pass venereal disease amongst each other, which was one of the reasons that syphilis was introduced through the Tuskegee experiment. This is how dangerous information is. This is how dangerous research is and how it is weaponized against us. I don't know if you all remember me telling you when they picked my half black son up off the street and he was held in a COVID facility with 100% Hispanics. I don't think they did not know that he was not 100% Hispanic. So I believe that's why one of the reasons why he was picked up. And I want you to know his coworkers turned him in. Yes, they called the CDC on him because he reported that he wasn't feeling well. And he told me, he said, Mom, they took me to a medical facility and they held me there against my will. And he stayed for about a week. And it was nothing but Mexicans. My son is half Mexican. And he said they were dying, Mom. And the lady who ran the program was Asian. And he said every time she would come back and ask him how he was feeling, he would say, well, I'm feeling better. And he said, you should have seen the anger on her face. And he said they took copious amounts of blood. Now, unbeknownst to you all, I used to participate in numerous medical studies. The number one ethnicity in those medical studies were Black people. And the reason why it was Black people is because they paid a lot of money. And so if you were unemployed at that time, you could make like $10,000 at a pop. So that means that all this medicine that is being placed on the market has been tested on Black bodies. There is no reason that the medicine is not as efficacious for us as it is for white people. So that means that they purposely do something different to the medicine to ensure that it does not work as well within our bodily systems. I, yes, this was a space that I had to join.
You cooking. You're
I,
cook. You're cooking. I'm a man. I don't even, Andy. I don't even know where to begin on trying to address that. Like
Well,
I don't. Go ahead. Go ahead.
let me ask something. Did your son test positive for COVID while he was in there?
no, he didn't, Nikki. And let me tell you something. You're gonna laugh when I tell you this.
Because this was the
But
CDC.
yes,
That's not legal.
yes. No, it's not legal. Now, naturally, his flat ass daddy didn't do shit about it. My son is a grown up, so I couldn't do anything about it either at the time. He only told me later. You can tell I'm still enraged about it. I don't know if you all can tell that. I do my best not to cuss. When I think about it, I could kill people. Do you know that? I'm so enraged. I told him, I said, you know why you didn't get sick and die? And I swear to God, I've been since that this is why I joined these spaces because I know that I'm actually a Black person. Now I know everybody's sitting here going, yeah, Andrea, you always say this shit. No, listen to me. I know that I am one of those people. I call myself a mound people. And I believe my son did not get sick and die because he is a descendant of a mound person. I know a lot of us in here are mound people. Some of us are more mixed than others, but I believe I'm a mound person. Obviously, I'm mixed, and I believe that's why he didn't get sick and die. All the 100% Mexicans in there, they got really ill, and he said the majority of them died. And do you all know they held my son in there against his will? and he saw those people suffering and dying. I will never forgive the United States for this. I will never forgive
I
them.
mean, I'm sorry. I'm still. What state was this?
California, dear, California.
Oh, California. So they
They
were
picked him
treating
up
him
off the
like some type of
streets
a migrant. They were treating him like some type
like a
of
Hispanic. Yes,
uninformed migrant. That's what they were
they
doing.
they picked him up off the streets like a fucking Mexican. I said it. That's how I feel. Yes. And on that,
Yeah,
I'll
because
end.
that doesn't even make sense that they would do that other than they were in a he was placed with some migrants or something like that because I worked in um multiple states during the
Okay.
pandemic and I know that he wasn't even supposed to be placed on like in the same area where COVID positive people were. He wasn't supposed
I
to be
agree with
near them.
you. Yes, I agree with you. That's why I'm angry. Why do you think I'm so angry? Yes, that's exactly what they did. And I don't know if he told them that he was, half black. I wish he would have. I don't know if he did or did not. My son was raised by his father because I thought that would be a good idea that he would be raised, by a man. I guess I should have qualified in my mind what meant what made up a man because I don't know how his dad you know let that go down. I do not know, but when he told me what happened to him, I still can't believe I can't wrap my mind around it. I cannot wrap my mind around it. They literally picked him up from the street and stuck him in there with sick people, and he was just in shock and despair. He was in despair because he told me, he said, "Oh, mom, they suffer." He said they suffer. Oh, can you imagine seeing that? I hate this. At times I really hate this country. If it wasn't for Black America, I would really hate this country.
So I want to quickly address something Andy said. Um, if you think of from a research, what I tell my students all the time is the best place to hide some shit is right in front of your face. So, with respect to medicine, and let me say, I'm not a physician or a medical professional. I'm an academic. But if you look at what they test medicine on, and you type lab rat in Google and hit images, you're going to have an albino rat. That's the standard for testing medication on an albino rat. Why is that albino rat the standard when the common rat is melanated? Basically, albino rats are rare, but they're damn near 100% of the standard to test medication. Well, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says the condition of a whiteness is the genetic condition of albinism. So what I'm arguing is medication that's tested out on an albino rat does better on a human being that's closer to that status than a human being like me that's melanated. My whole life, medications never like they don't work right on me. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to try medication after medication. I've got to the point where I basically stopped going to the doctor because medications have like an adverse effect on me. But yeah, I was gonna land right there. Oh,
You know what, Dr. Allen? Do you know I'm in the same boat as you? Medications don't work on me either. That's how I know that we're different people. And so when I looked around and I saw in those medical studies all of those Black people, and I know y'all do not believe me, and I would not be lying to you. You make thousands of dollars at those studies. That's why I did it because
yep.
I made like $30,000 quickly. I mean, I'm not making any of this up, and the majority of those people in there are Black. And then don't even get me started on the high blood pressure medicine, which does not work on Black people. Do you know the majority of the people who are in those studies are Black men with what they call, Nikki, what is high blood pressure that is not able to be treated? What is that called?
That
Um,
hypertension.
Yeah, the
yes,
hypertension, but it's I just say
but more.
hypertension.
But
But it's
more,
just
more, yes, that's it. But more Black men have a hypertension that is not reactive. to medication. So when I
Mm.
tell you that they study these black men who have this type of blood pressure, I need you to go back and do your blood pressure research, because do you know that most blood pressure medicine does not work well on black people? So
Or
I'm
they or
telling
they
you,
get or they have get some type of
go
a
ahead, say it.
rash, or their lips swell up, and with a lot of, I've seen a lot of
Yes,
people who swell up off of like amlodipine and that
yes,
potassium high blood pressure medication. There's
yeah.
a lot of times you could just find some of that in supplements. Fine, because a lot of the issues with blood pressure is having too much or not enough potassium and magnesium in your system, and you could just take care of that with supplements. I ain't telling my age, but I've never had high blood pressure. My blood pressure is always like 100s, 110s at the most, never gets high. So you don't have to just get high blood pressure. You can just watch what you eat. I never eat a lot of salt either. So you don't have to take those pills. Those pills, they put my mom on high blood pressure pills. She's in her 70s. I haven't given her those pills and I don't know when. I just stopped giving them to her since I take care of her. And she hasn't had a heart attack or anything. They People don't need those if they know what to do.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just,
think. Thank you for
I'm
that
glad you're talking
perspective.
about that.
I agree.
Because the reason why I wanted to tell you about that, so I was studying the people that they wanted for the high blood pressure to come in. Do you know that they were all thick? And when I say thick, they were muscular. They were, I mean, it looked like little models, little thing. All these little beefcake people were walking in, and they were all black, and they all had, it's a term for it. I can't think of the professional name for it. They had a type of high blood pressure that was endemic to black people. That's all I want to add. Thanks.
My aunt June, may she rest in peace, was the first black nurse practitioner in the state of Alabama. Like that wasn't even they had just created that. Like nurse practitioner, what's that? And one of the reasons why we think she got accepted to that program is because people thought she was white. Like my mom's side of the family can, some of them can pass, but she wasn't like a turncoat or anything. She, she'd be like, "Nah, I'm black." But anyway, June worked at this Center for Disease Control in the '90s, and they had a study in Birmingham and Atlanta, and they were testing out a new medication, and they were paying like $300 for you to test out this new medication, and there was a line around the block in Birmingham at the health department, um, full of black girls. And June went out there saying, "Don't take this shit. It's not studied. We don't know what it is. Please don't take this, sister." And they a lot of them was like, "Man, I'm getting my $300. Do you not know that drug sterilized them?" So that's the type of games they play with those tests, those tests and medication. So I don't trust none of that stuff.
So they must that the papers that they signed must have been very long. I will sit there and read. I will sit there and take out time. If somebody got me signing something like that, I would just sit there and make that time in my day and read and highlight everything, because it's right. If somebody gives me something that has to do with my health, I want to know what I'm getting. But they were
You know,
young.
Nikki, a black pharmacist called my mother after I picked up a prescription for her and told her not to take it. This is why we need people. This is why we need our people in business. This is why we need our people in academia. This is why we need our people in institutions. Yes, she called my mother. She said, "Are you miss?" And my mom said, "Yes." She said, "Get that medicine out." She said, "Take it and go throw it away in the trash, and don't you ever take it." I could not believe that. And the only reason why she called, I'm positive of this, is because she was black.
Yeah, we you're right. We need them in every endeavor. We need them on the police department, but yeah, especially in academia, the things I saw when we were doing our studies, man, the system studies us. They study us real hard. I gotta watch what I say because I haven't finished reading my paperwork on what I signed, and I don't want to trip myself up by violating an NDA. Ramon, you had your hand up earlier. You still
I
want to
just
talk?
want to.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to hear. Wait a minute. I'm trying to talk. When you said that somebody gave one of those ladies a pill and told her don't take it? Did one of the ladies not take the pill and she didn't get sterilized, Andy?
No, that wasn't me saying that. I think that was who was saying that? That the doctor.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that was
said,
Sister Autumn.
yeah,
Yeah.
my aunt June, yeah, yeah. It came out that the pill sterilized them because the same girls were coming back later to the health department, which where June worked, and they were having problems. They got married and they were having problems having kids. So yeah, my aunt thought that was intentional sterilization.
Those evil bastards.
Yeah, yeah. Ramon, what you got?
Mic check, can y'all hear me?
I hear, brother.
Yeah, what's up with it, Professor? Nikki? One, it sound like, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to all though. And this a hell of a title, man. I just had to come shout it out real quick. And I gotta go with the PhD. You know what I'm saying? And you know, not because it's good people's got PhDs and shit. Don't get me wrong though. But it's the position the PhDs can put people in. See what I'm saying? Your child superintendent, school teacher, your doctor, your accountant. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that could be hella dangerous. You know what I'm talking about? So I can spot a thug on the street from a mile away. Shit, I used to be a thug on the street, so I'm already know how they move. And I'm gonna land on this, man. In the words of Dame Dash, evil is intelligent, man. You know what I'm talking about? Thanks for having me up, man. Great topic.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Ramon, I ain't even got to ask you. That was Ramon speaking, right? Was that Ramon?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I ain't even got to ask him what his lineage is. I can just tell by the way he speaks that he is 100% FBA. Ain't no lineage check necessary.
Peace
Already.
to the room, uh, to the host, Alan, brother Alan, sister Wani, sister Nikki. Just to shortly answer the title of the room, I agree with Ramon 100%, the PhD. And what really touched me in very his very succinct build is the danger of the child superintendent, the superintendent of schools, and the damage that they could do by setting a curriculum that is harmful to our people, right? And then I originally raised my hand on Sister Andy's build because man, the wisdom, right? Like, and here's the thing, Alan, brother Alan, you don't have to, you know, you don't have to give the disclaimer because 99% of science is logic and common sense. That other percent, is where the wisdom and the intellect come in, and you have that as well. But maybe you didn't train in that area, but your common sense and your logic is going to take you 99% of the way. Now 100% of scientific testing is 100% common sense and logic. And the reason that I came up here with respect to Sister Andy's build is her logic and wisdom was like, yeah, like the way that things are being tested, the fact that your scientific control has you testing one way, but yet what you're putting out has a different effect. This tells me that something is fucked up, right? And so, as COVID was coming out, and the information was disseminating, they're saying within a year that they had a testable drug. And I'm like, first of all, a human gestation period is 9 months. So you did absolutely no birth defects. You have no information on birth defects. You have no information on the effects on the reproductive system. You have you have zero testing that you could tell. You have no way of telling us that it's that we're going to be able to reproduce after taking this shit, or that our children are may not even our daughters may not issue any eggs, or the eggs might be. You have no information on this because 1 year of that, and it was less than a year,
right? And this is where just science, again, just logic and common sense tells you that these motherfuckers that are saying I trust the science have no idea what the fucking scientific method is, because the scientific method has nowhere in it trust. I dip on that.
Oh yeah, bro. My area is I'm a social scientist, so my area is educational psychology on the graduate school level, and law. So I'm an alumni of a law school. So, um, but back to this point, it's so much going through my head on this. I want to address. Let me answer my own question: who's a bigger danger to society, a thug on the street or the PhD? Oh, I'm gonna say PhD, and I'm gonna qualify that shit with a motherfucker named B.F. Skinner. Bravo Frank Skinner. There was a white man named B.F. Skinner who Dr. Amos Wilson calls the most dangerous motherfucker on the planet. Um, who was hired to socially disrupt the cohesion of foundational Black Americans. I know it's hard for us to conceptualize this, but for a long time, foundational Black Americans were completely together and socially cohesive, like during the civil rights movement. Long story short, um, B.F. Skinner was hired to figure out a way to break our social cohesion and turn us against each other. And again, B.F. Skinner studied rats. Some of you know the test is called the Skinner box. Dr. Amos Wilson said you'll have black grad students in class talking about the Skinner box, not knowing that really the nigger box and we're the rat. I was one of those grad students. But basically, long story short, rats in nature act like foundational Black Americans used to act. If a rat is hungry, they'll break off a piece of cheese and make sure he eats. Um, a female rat has a protocol before she allows a male rat to have sex. Number one, she sniffs them, checks them for defects, and number two, he has to build a house for her. So if he builds her a nice burrow, then he can get some, right? So BF studied all this shit and wrote a psychological protocol to break us apart. It was called what was it called? It wasn't operant conditioning. It was negative and positive reinforcement. But long story short, y'all, what I wanted to bring to y'all is B.F. Skinner's research was given to the federal government, and the federal government used B.F. Skinner's research to create the projects. So the first project, and I keep forgetting the name of the place, it was in Atlanta. The second one was Cabrini Green in Chicago. I know that because I had an auntie who stayed at Cabrini Green. But Cabrini Green and this place in Atlanta that no longer exists were created based on B.F. Skinner's research. And out of these project environments, we start to see the gang warfare and the baby mama isms. So, what I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is a whole ism of baby mamas and baby daddies, and the whole sexy redism was created by B.F. motherfucking Skinner. Why does nobody talk about that? How do we absorb all the negativity for some shit that we didn't create? Well, ladies and gentlemen, one reason I'm on Earth is to let y'all know where this shit's coming from. It came from B.F. Skinner's evil ass. Seventh Ward, talk to us.
Yeah, can you hear
I
me?
hear you now, bro.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, B.F. Skinner. Yeah, there was a great debate between him and Noam Chomsky, but the nature versus nurture hypothesis. But with that said, we were talking earlier about medical stuff, and what I want to recommend to everybody is get your blood checked every 6 months, because that way you can identify any health problems you may have. For for instance, I had a health problem that could have become cancerous, and so every 6 months I get my blood screened to make sure that that cancer doesn't become a problem. And not only for cancer, but get it checked for cholesterol, hypertension, or any other thing that a good doctor will tell you. The reason why I started doing this is because I had F FBA doctor. She had seen that something was wrong with my liver. And truth be told, it's my fault because I consume a lot of alcohol. But she was afraid that like that problem would spread into something worse. So go to a doctor who recommends that they get your blood checked frequently, and that way they can nip it in the bud of any health scare comes about. And with that, I yield the
Yeah,
mic.
that's a really good point, bro. I need to take up on that advice actually. Um, I wanted to kind of further drive home the B.F. Skinner thing because I know speaking grad school talk goes over people's heads because I didn't understand it before I went to educational psychology program in grad school. But so B.F. Skinner, I put a picture of the Skinner box in Jumbotron. B.F. Skinner realized that he could completely mold or reprogram the rat's behavior by positive and negative reinforcement. That's B.F. Skinner saying positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. So basically he figured out that he could get the rat, and he had rats addicted to cocaine as a side note, but he would make the rat do certain things or show certain behaviors to get that cocaine, that jolt of cocaine, or like a shock, right? So that type of conditioning was used to turn black females against black men. Uh, um, B.F. Skinner either an award, issued a reward, which we call extrinsic motivation, or issued a punishment. So, how did he get black women in the project low SES setting and turning against black men? Well, he basically theorized that if you the reward being food and shelter, again, which is a necessity, if you give the black woman shelter and associate the black and say if the black man's around, I'm gonna deny you shelter. That's negative reinforcement. Like if the and positive reinforcement. It's just if the black woman is a rat. So if you have the man in the house, I'm not gonna give you literally not gonna give you cheese or a place to stay with your kids. If he's if he's in the house, I mean, if he's not in the house, I'm going to reward you and give you food and shelter. So over time, initially that looks like kind of weird. Like, what the fuck? That's strange. But I want my food and I want somewhere to, I don't want to be in the cold. That's common sense. Nobody wants to be in the cold, right? Well, over time, that morphs into a behavior. We call it behaviorism. That morphs in a behavior where black females in the projects hate black dudes and don't even know why. Like, I can't stand his sorry ass. And you don't even know why you're saying that. You've been programmed by a greater system to dislike your helpmate that was given to you by God. This needs to be addressed, ladies and gentlemen. This needs to be part of the reparations. And furthermore, this needs to be a fucking lawsuit. Like, there needs to be $1 trillion goddamn lawsuit because it has destroyed our homes. I'm not going to elaborate, but I'm dealing with that in my life, in my immediate circle. That whole uh, issue of so many females being taught that black males ain't shit, that affects you directly, even though, what I'm saying, it's not directly affecting me. That rhetoric affects my surroundings. But I could talk about that forever. Andy, you had something?
Yes, I do. And this is the last time I'm going to speak on this because you can tell this topic has me fired up. We're the only group of people who are allowed, who people speak about without causation. B.F. Skinner is a son of a bitch. When they implemented different social testings, because if you notice, all the social programs are ran by white women. I'm gonna let that one go too because I just posted about white women in academia. They make up what 34%. White men make up 37% in intermediate. So that means they make up over 67% of academia. And I just told you college was an institution. We're the only group of people that you're allowed to talk about our social status without causation. You couldn't do it's not even rational. You wouldn't talk to a fat person without linking it to causation. And by that I mean nutrition, amount of calories consumed, environment, wage, social status, looks, height. I mean, the whole 9 yards. You would use a full scientific parameter. But when you talk about Black people, you're allowed to make a statement based on prejudice, bias, discrimination, and hate, and that becomes canon. And that canon is codified through educational institutions. I got
And
into a fight.
let me take
Okay,
it
I'll
a
let you
step.
go.
I'll be real quick. Let me take it a step further. Your society rewards you for attacking black. So if a group of immigrants come to America and they want to amalgamate into whiteness, they want to get bumped up. An easy way for them to do that is to attack verbally, dissociate, and attack black Americans. That's kind of like a hazing process. But go ahead.
So if you all have noticed, I got
I
into a
agree.
little tip. I got into a little tiff with a professor who teaches at a college, and he has some influence. And he brought up that Black families are dysfunctional. Now, I want you to listen to this. So, on the surface, one might agree with that because of our high divorce rate, one, two, our high rates of fatherless homes. But if you scrape behind the surface, you'll find some more information that better defines the actual status of Black families. Do you know why he is allowed to get away with saying that? Because you're allowed to speak about Black people without causation. And so I pushed back against that. I said, what you're saying is, as a race of people or as an ethnicity, this is going beyond race, so let's just skip race. As an ethnicity, we're inherently defective. That is what they're saying. And he was like, well, I don't think you have to, it doesn't do us any good to get into the fantasies. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I didn't know I was dwelling into the fantasies. What I'm talking about is why are our families dysfunctional? It's
There
because
you go.
okay. And so I jumped in there. And but he is a PhD. He is half African. He is half us. But this is normalized in our day-to-day communications, even with each other. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that little topic. When you say Black men ain't shit, do you know that that is a canon? And I need you all to understand this. That encompasses everything that the Black man produces, which is me. I'm a product of a Black man. So if I say Black men aren't shit, that justifies you not providing me adequate maternal care, adequate infant care, adequate jobs, adequate medical treatment. Do you see how dangerous this is? I don't know why this topic has set me on fire. Everybody is afraid of a thug, except Andrea. I would get a thug first. I'd be like, oh, come on. I'd round them up. But these PhDs, oh, y'all, we need to speak against them. We need to come out against them because our Black PhDs are actually the thugs of our community. And Dr.
Preach.
Allen, this is the most timely space you could have ever held. We need to be picking, we need to march, as the Black kids say, we need to roll up on some HBCUs and pull them bitches out and hold them accountable for what they're teaching our children and what they're perpetuating through white supremacist narratives. And on that, I will land and I will disengage from speaker because you can tell I'm just hot about this
No, no,
topic.
it's a hot topic, and going back to the systems of rewards. And I now first and foremost, my foundational Black American sisters in here that don't know me, I'm not misogynistic. Um I love my sisters, and you know what I'm saying. But I'm just acknowledging the system. I'm not attacking you. The system, based on Skinner's ideology. Let's look at the timeline before 1950. You didn't have black females dominating professions like high money making professions over black males. We both were like egalitarian. Neither we both were kind of blocked out. Here and there, somebody would get accepted to a school of medicine or this and that, outside of the historically black colleges, of course. But B.F. Skinner's research turned into a socio, what's the word? Uh, uh, a social weapon, because you would reward black females and punish black males in academia itself. Like the issue I brought up the other day about the medical school rates. Black females were going to are very prominent. I'm trying to hide some identities here. I don't want to talk about somebody on internet space, but I had a friend who did got denied admission to University of Alabama School of Medicine, one of the leading schools of medicine in the world. And he was perfect all across the board. 4.0, SGA president, president of his fraternity, perfect MCAT score. How you do that, I don't know, but he did it. But they denied him, and I knew a handful of black females, some of which I used to date, who went to that school of medicine, who had damn near like a 3.5. He had a 4.0. They had 3.5. But what I'm trying to say is the system will reward black females and openly punish black males, like my friend who didn't get accepted. And that sends a subconscious message. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said she equated this battle we're in to a chessboard. She said, we're the black pieces of the chessboard, and they're the white pieces of chessboard. So she said, let's look at the rules of the game. The rules of the game is the white goes first, right? And so what's white? The white side chessboard's tactic is offense, defense. So basically, throw a rock, hit you in the mouth, and then say, I didn't throw that rock. I don't rock. What do you mean? I didn't see a rock. What do you mean? And our position is defense, offense. So protect ourselves from getting hit in the head with the rock, then find a way to strike back. So I love that Dr. Welson did that. I love that she oversimplified it, because that's really what it is. So let's zoom back into that example I brought up with medical school, right? They denied my good friend, strong black brother, chocolate brother, from the country, didn't cuss, didn't drink. They knew all about him. Didn't touch alcohol, didn't mess with drugs. Married his girlfriend, his college sweetheart. Got a family. Didn't cheat. All the girls wanted him, but he didn't cheat. Just perfect brother, right? Well, the system, the system of white supremacy played that chess move on him. It offense defense. So it denied him. Nope, you're not coming up in here, Negro. But not only did it deny him, it waitlisted him. They put him on a wait list for a year. So it offensively stole a year out this dude's life, and then said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but after heavy consideration, we've decided you're not a good fit. Good luck." Right? That's
Yeah, they sit
offense.
there laughing behind the scenes at shit like that. I'm getting pissed listening to this.
I'm sorry for triggering you. I'm sorry for that, but it's a good example. Offense, defense. So it attacked my brother, stole a whole. He's a surgeon right now. Let me tell you what a year is worth to this motherfucker. And he's not a motherfucker. I love this dude. What a year to this dude right now is $600,000, almost $1 million fucking dollars. So this school waitlisted him and stole $600,000 from him, and then pretended like it wasn't doing nothing wrong. That's that throwing that rock and saying, rock, what do you mean? I didn't see a rock. So I just want to make everybody aware of how that system operates. Offense, defense. Let me hit you and then say, I didn't hit you. I don't know what, do y'all know what happened? I had a law professor, man. I went to a PWI law school. I'll never forget this shit. This motherfucker used to come to class drunk. I mean, when I say drunk, I mean drunk. And it was my favorite class in law school, contracts. And I really enjoyed it. It's my highest grade. Like made a B. I was so happy about that. But it's the highest grade I got in law school. But anyway, and it was a B minus too. But anyway, one day I was taking my contracts exam, and I was the last person in class. Like I just took my time. Like law school's kind of hard. And I remember this motherfucker was getting so mad. I had 2 hours to take my exam. As I found out later, the white boys had the test. Some of the white boys had the test answer because they were finishing right away. I was like, how in the fuck they finish this so fast? Well, anyway, I used basically all my 2 hours. And about an hour and 20 minutes in, I was the last person in there. And this professor was getting mad at me. He was cherry red, face. You know how white people look when they get drunk. And he was like, look, he told me explicitly, look, I got beer waiting on me, man. Can you hurry up? Do you not know how to take a test? I got beer waiting on me. And we come to class drunk every day. So worked at a law firm a couple years later. And at this law firm was two of my classmates were in there. Um, in the firm as one as a he actually was counsel at this firm. I didn't like him. But we got together and we were shooting the shit. And I said, "Y'all remember Professor so and so?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, I remember him." I said, "Man, that dude used to be drunk as hell." And then that white coat snapped in. They said, "Drunk? He never drank. Nope, he never drank. He never drank. I never seen him drunk." Like they got codified just that fast to protect his reputation. Like, yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we codify to protect each other's reputation? Is it meritorious manumission? Is that what turned us against each other? Anyway, I digress.
I want to bring up a point that Wani had said one time about feminism. And I think it was so important when she pointed out people's sexual preference of a certain race who perpetuated feminism. One of the things that the academy or the institution of education does is denature Black women through radicalized feminism. And that is so important. We always look to the emasculation of Black men because that's so obvious and it's so telling and it's so prevalent. Even, I mean, it's just in everyday life. But if you emasculate the patriarchy, then by corollary of an oppressed group, you must also denature or defeminize the women. That is what academy or the academia has done to Black women through radicalized feminism. So you have Black women who will say, Black men ain't shit. Well, if Black men ain't shit and you come from Black men, what does that make you? When they tell you Black men are not men. Well, if Black men are not men, how can you, as a Black woman, be a female? And no one is saying this. And this is the danger of white supremacy and its effects on education. And so Black women have failed for this hook, line, and sinker, and wonder why you have no partner, wonder why you have no intimacy in your relationships, wonder why you're at enmity with your God given partner, as Professor Allen said. It's a huge psychological warfare that's being played out against us. And the more educated we become, the more we become, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Immersed into this line of thinking. I have been saying this for years that if you really wanted to see a revolution, what that would look like is Black women lined up around prisons, whether we would be praying or just waiting on some man to come out to grab them. That's what needs to happen. Now, I know everybody's saying, "Oh, Andrew, you're just a horny little buzzard." No, I'm not. I can't tell you the last time I had sex. I don't even know what a penis looked like. Last time I saw a good one, it looked like a vagina sausage. That's probably when I gave birth. It has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about community. I'm talking about us going and getting our brothers. Okay. This is a strategy of warfare. Do you all remember me saying the most powerful thing a Black person can do is say no? Well, when you say no, I'm talking about a complete rejection and abnegation of the system. Y'all, do you know I'm constantly going to school? Y'all gonna laugh at me. I hate education. But I'm one of those darkies who have to go to school to get some money in my pocket. So I'm always going to school for a certain person because I promised her that I want her to get her higher. I want my mom to get her PhD because she stopped going to school when she had me. So I forced her to go to school. I know she hates me. Oh, I'm a bitch. But anyway, I'm always going to school. Do you know how much when I go to school, I am dissecting this through the lens of blackness? When I say blackness, I'm talking about the black canon of thought. So when Dr. Allen said, who is a bigger danger? I want y'all to start looking at our black PhDs just like you would the KKK. These people have become um, the boule light. Okay, they're not really the boule because they don't have money. They still have to work.
Some of
So
them are.
yes, yes, you're right. You're right. I'm not knocking those down. I'm talking about the people who are who don't have the millions hit Dr. Allen, who are still stuck there for a paycheck. You understand what I'm saying? They're not running shit, but they still stuck there for a paycheck. They are influential enough to the academic system to harm us. We have to hold those black academians accountable. Do you all realize that we're in the middle of a black renaissance? And those black people who are at these uh, institutions are writing canon against us. I need y'all to hear that. They are
Well.
writing. Yes,
I
go
want
ahead.
to let me build with you right quick, because what you're saying is true, and I don't want people to lose context on this. What Andy's saying is absolutely true, and some of them are members of these little secret societies. But moreover, what happens for a PhD or a PhD EDD, a doctoral level research degree, um, you have a dissertation committee. And like I said earlier, you pick a topic for your dissertation and your committee has to agree upon it. And then your committee walks you through. So let's say an average dissertation is 110 pages. So when you get to 30 pages, you submit it and they read it and say, don't like that. Don't like that. Oh, or I love this. Right. So what I've seen over and over again and what fucking happened to me is most of the people on the committee are generally white people or foreigners. You get in engineering, it becomes foreigners, but a lot of them be white. And the dissertation, I'm gonna say something real controversial, but I mean this. A lot, and I'm not in science, so I don't know if science is this way, but I imagine it would be. But in arts and letters, the way it works is a dissertation kind of turns into a litmus test to see if you think. How do I say this? To see it, they
That's
want
a
to see if
hundred percent. I already know what you're gonna say. That's a
I'm
hundred
trying to say.
See
percent.
I'm
if you
trying to
think
say it. I
white.
don't know how to say it. It turns into see if
To
your
see if
mind
you
is
think
white.
white.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Let me tell y'all what happened to me when I was doing during my proposal. I had a my proposal was to study the causation of the "I am a man" movement, because that shit's deep. We're not taught any Black history in school. "I am a man" is where Dr. King came to Memphis and got killed, and I wanted to find out what that shit was really about. In 2014, there were still brothers hanging outside of Kellogg's, the Kellogg plant is in Memphis, with shirts that said "I'm a man." So it didn't stop. And one of my the dudes I mentored, Daddy, was a sanitation worker in 2013, and the sanitation workers back then in 2013 still didn't have insurance, still didn't have benefits. Like they were still treated like shit. So I was like, "What did King?" I wanted to know what did King die for, because the shit was still going on. Well, I presented it. I had A's, basically straight A's, and I presented it to my committee, and I mean, smiles turned to frowns. One of them told they rejected it, and one of them told me, why don't you write about Elvis? Because Elvis loved Black people. This is a fucking PhD saying this to me. And mysteriously, while I was trying to, the next semester when I was trying to get another proposal together, my grades, I got on academic probation. I failed a class. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? It's almost like they talked to each other and said, oh, we thought because a lot of time people think that I'm a traitor because I'm light skinned and I wear bow ties and shit. They like, oh, well, he's one of us, y'all. But then the real me comes out, you know, and I get on academic probation. Well, well, anyway, I to graduate, I ended up having to write my final dissertation was about dogs, for Christ's sake. I still got my point across. I talked about the American Pit Bull Terrier, but I basically put myself on the radar as a strong Black man at this PWI. and they were looking for any reason to fail. It even gets deeper than that. They almost had to spend another year in grad school. I passed my boards, dissertation got cleared, and everything. And I was walking out of the hall for the psychology department, and my dean said, "Hey, Doctor So and So needs to meet you on the fourth floor." And I was like, "Fourth floor? What the fuck you mean?" I had been in that building 4 years, and the fourth floor was just a computer lab. I was like, "There are no offices up there." So I go to the fourth floor, and mysteriously, yeah, there's a door right next to the computer lab that I missed for 4 years. I open the door, and it's this beautiful office overlooking the whole campus, like a corner office. I'm like, man, why in the fuck have I never seen? Did this just magically appear? Where it was a PhD there.
You were in the Matrix, man.
I'm telling. Oh, literally. Can y'all
They
hear me?
had no, I can hear you. They had you in the Matrix. This reminds me of the Matrix movie, but go ahead.
But no, this is how I learned so much at this PWI. I learned how the system works. I learned, and this goes back to Andy's point of why a lot of our PhD class and professional class are turncoats or Uncle Ruckuses, because they had it's not that we're Uncle Ruckuses at all. It's just that they have the European has perfected this vetting system to make sure that you're not fighting for your people. I was doing fine until I identified myself who as somebody who gave a fuck about black issues. And they put me through hell I'm not going to talk about. Um but anyway, I got cleared to graduate, and I was walking out of the hall, ball hall, and my dean was like, "Oh, Dr. So-and-so, so I go up there and never seen, what the fuck? I open it, it's a nice office, and I'm sitting down. She's like, "Have a seat." She's like, "We looked at your board scores, and so the board exam was created by Stanford University. And Stanford, the motherfuckers who created it said a passing score was 38. That's passing. My university, because Vanderbilt wants to be all fucking over the top, they made it a 42. Okay, fine. So I made a 42 on that motherfucker. And I'm sitting down, and this mysterious PhD lady was like, "Well, we've decided that we're gonna bump the score up to 44." And I was like, "No, ma'am." I was like, "Ma'am, I signed the paperwork. I have a signature that says that I agreed to a 42, which I didn't agree to, but I finally agreed to that, and I did what you asked me to do. I have it in paperwork. Like I'm about to fucking lose it, like go crazy black man, which is probably what she wanted me to do." So some just told me to sit still and catch my breath because I really was I was gonna fucking lose it. And she looked at my book bag, and my book bag, I had just made second lieutenant. I had my lieutenant bars on there, and some patches. And she was like, "Oh, you serve?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am. I serve once a month." And she was like, "You know what? I'm gonna let you go just this once." So what happened there? She associated um my service with being more for the dominant society. If I didn't have my book bag, like I probably wouldn't have graduated because there's no way in hell I was going through that. Now the reason why I brought up that long diatribe is to let y'all know that is the people our professional class are not Uncle Ruckuses. A lot of our professional class goes to school wanting to fight um for our people, but they get weeded out, man.
Yeah, and I don't want you to think that I hate them. Now you know that the professional class, the people that I'm talking about, are on my side of the family, don't you? So I don't want you to think that I hate them. What I'm saying is that at certain points in history, when you can see the writing on the wall, we all need to put I'm gonna use a Marine Corps term, okay? Our nuts to the wall and just ram it through. This is an all hands on deck situation. We're getting ready to face Project 2025. Y'all, I don't know if you've read this, okay? And it's not about election because if we vote for Kamala, we're screwed. If you vote for Trump, we're screwed. I need people to understand this. It's not from election to election. It's the how our government is how the society is constructing that they've come together and agreed. that Black people can become totally wealthless because it's been accelerated by 2035. This is what I'm talking about. So it's time for everyone who has a modicum of thought in their head to kind of step forward and say, you know what? It's time for us to take our gloves off and really fight white supremacy. And you can't fight white supremacy with your fists. You can't fight it with your anger. Okay, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we need our people to actually step up and begin writing, begin speaking, begin protesting on behalf of Black Americans. I can't say this any plainer. We're silent as they're putting their hands across our mouths, and our people are dying. And it angers me that the people who actually are academically equipped to maybe have something in their retinue to fight, they're sitting down folding their hands saying, well, you know what, Andrea? I'm looking for my paycheck, okay, bitch? I don't have time to be concerned with you. Okay, it's not just me you're concerned about, baby. You know, I'm gonna do all right. But what about you, the baby you getting ready to birth? See, I'm 51. If don't nothing change for me, I'll be dead soon, thank God. Okay? But you know what? We got people who are 41. We got people who are 31. We got people who are 21. What about those people? And what about us?
We we have people's hands up. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, well, I hogged the mic. I'm sorry. I think Vader had his hand up first, but he put it down. Vader seven
I'm
forward,
good.
then Freeman.
I'm good.
Okay, well 7 forward. Talk to us, then Freeman.
Oh yeah, can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you were talking about, what you had to go to for a PhD. I had to go through it too, like you said, like they're foreigners on your PhD board. All the people on my board were Chinese, and one of the people on that board, they should have won a Nobel Prize in physics. But with that said, we have to support these people who are intellectuals in our society to have the PhDs who've gone through it. And I'm not trying to plug it for me. I'm good. I don't need any money at this time. But I'll give you a name, Dr. Randy Short, a PhD who we need to support, who we need to help to get his message to the society. Like like these are people who have PhDs who are doing good, and we need to support that. And with that, I yield the mic.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Freeman, talk to us. I think that says Freeman S. Can you hear me, Freeman? Maybe you can't hear me. Nikki or Wani, could you let them know?
I can hear Professor, but that's all I can hear.
Oh, okay.
Who is speaking?
Freeman has his hand or her hand up.
Go ahead, hon. You can go ahead and speak. Let's see.
Maybe he can't hear us.
You talking about me, Professor?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay.
Amy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've had to change my name and get another account, but um,
Oh, I saw Amy. I didn't know
it's
what they
me.
were
Yeah,
talking
it's
about.
me.
Is this sexy raw?
Yes,
Oh
yes,
wow.
it is. Good evening, Professor Nikki and Wani. I had to come up and give my testimony, Professor, because I am in a PhD program right now, and I'm tired. I'm ready to get through it. It's getting on my nerves. I do attend a professional school. I didn't go the traditional route because I want to do something different in the healthcare mental health field with my PhD. So but I have to say, I'm doing research on us and it's our history and intergenerational trauma. It has never been done, and I'm still getting pushed back from my committee that's all Black. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's draining. I'm now finally editing I just had a chapter edited by editor, and it still didn't meet my chair's expectations. So, I was hoping to be done by the end of this year. Lord, y'all be with me, because I'm like, I'm over it. I'm really over it. But everybody's like, you're at the finish line. You can't give up now. So I totally now understand what you went through, because I'm going through it right now. I had to put it out there. Now, who is a bigger danger to society, a thug on the street or the PhD? At this moment, for me, I'm gonna say the PhD, because the PhD, the people that are on my committee, you all, they're wreaking some real like expectations that I'm like, where did this come from? And it's like they're want to break you down, in a way, and humility, and things of that nature. And we just had a colleague to finally graduate, and she was like so disappointed in what happened at her graduation. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And right now it's the PhD. I'm gonna land it there.
Yeah, yeah.
Sexy Rob, will you do me
Go
a
ahead.
favor and DM me your name so I can ask my family to pray for you?
Yeah, Rob, you're gonna be in
Yeah.
our prayers, and you definitely gonna get through. Just push through it, and play that game. Now, I'm glad that Sexy Rob brought that up. The only thing worse than a panel of racist white professors is a panel of educated fool black professors. They're the only thing worse. And I wonder, that makes me think of a story of when W. Du Bois got his first professorship at Wilberforce in Ohio, and and
See,
the
it's
go
all
ahead.
these tethers. It's the government. It's all these people.
I can't tell who's talking. Yeah. Well, anyway, W. Du Bois went to Wilberforce. He was his first professorship, and all of the black PhDs made fun of W. Du Bois because he didn't speak fluent Latin. Like some of these, and I dealt with that with my first professorship. I'm not gonna name the college. Some of you know, but I dealt with that because some of these PhDs equate some of these black PhDs think that equate their PhD with like their white privilege. It's disgusting. I had a PhD, very brilliant lady. I didn't work directly under her, but she was a department head in another department, but still administratively she had rank on me. And this lady was brilliant, black lady, and she did her work in Illinois, Southern Illinois University or something like that. And I wanted to know what she knew because she was a historian about Cairo. They say Cairo or Cairo, Illinois, if y'all know that story. It's a lot of interesting history around Cairo, Illinois, which goes back to that Egyptian lineage stuff I was talking about earlier, but I digress. And I was asking her I said, could you tell me what you know about Cairo, Illinois? And her whole face lit up, and she changed the narrative. Like she basically wouldn't talk about what I knew she knew because she was living in this narrative of like, you know, this white narrative of American history, but it's disgusting.
It's they wear it on their sleeve, right? It is an accomplishment, but at the same time, it's like, they have this authority and power over you, having that. And I'm just like, that's not what I'm getting it for. I'm getting it because I want to make sure there's more research on us and our intergenerational trauma. None of it has been done before. And I couldn't understand how we have all of these black psychologists and no one's ever done this work. And it's like, they really don't even want it to publish. That's what I'm getting from it, having to write it in a certain way and make sure it's edited in a certain way. And I'm afraid that they're going to edit so much stuff out of it, it won't, resonate. So that's where I'm at with it, Professor.
Can I
Yeah,
ask you, Sister Nikki, real quick?
go ahead.
Do you feel like Dr. Joy Degree's work is not enough, or you feel like we should do we just need more people doing like extending her work, or what is your thought on that?
Yeah, she only does a certain part of the work. I'm doing work where I actively go in and use modalities and therapy to treat trauma and PTSD, and also bring a spiritual aspect to it. So my research, I don't think that they've expanded enough, because it's, with what we've had to endure with sexual assault, and that's from the male perspective and the female perspective, you know. So, and I could only do the women. I can only do one. They only allowed me to do the women. They told me if I wanted to do men, I would never ever finish it, because it would be so much research to do. So,
Do
and
you,
my
what?
study is an active study. So,
Well,
yeah.
I got a question for Sexy Raw because cause we kind of deviated off topic, which was partially my fault because you talking about dissertation committees and But anyway, the point is, how do PhDs uh uh negatively affect, or and when I say PhDs, like the professional class, negatively affect the Black community? So since Sexy Raw's here and she's a candidate for PhD, she is going to get her PhD, and it's in psychology, I'm assuming. How do you think PhDs use psychology to attack the Black community? And now the example I brought up was B.F. Skinner. Could you bring up any more examples of how that the dangers of academia attack Black society?
The stigmas behind sexual assault in some way, right? That's what I'm doing, and trauma. You don't hear a great deal of our PhDs in psychology speak on it or even highlight it, because it is a condition that we can utilize for disability claims and all kinds of things of that nature, right? And
Right.
and and the thing about it is, we know our people have been experiencing this. Whether they say some of us don't always are not always impacted, but if you're continuously in these environments and experiencing atrocity after atrocity, and another way is watching someone get killed from our community on television repeatedly, that affects you. Can still suffer from PTSD, which is vicarious trauma, listening to, watching, or witnessing a death or murder or killing and things of that nature. So yes, that is a way that our PhDs don't even educate our community in that way about that. So I'll land it there, Professor.
That's interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, every business has a psychology department. I used to love going to Macy's, and I never knew why. Well, there's a psychology department in Macy's, organizing the lights in a certain way, having it smell a certain way. Like, it's money put into that. So what I heard Sexy Ross say is our community is being attacked through these PhD psychologists, vis-a-vis television, and I agree with it. It's an attack. All right, True Station, what you got? Who's a bigger danger to society, thug on the street or PhD? What you got? Maybe I spoke to yeah, Stacia. Who's a bigger threat to society, the thug or the PhD?
I definitely would have to say the PhD. And I think we even talked, I want to say last week, about how psychology was used to discuss attractiveness in humans, how they've used PhDs as far as IQ tests to say that, we have lower intelligence. I mean, these things have been going on and on and on. And, this is a really excellent topic because it's not something that I mean, it's something that you kind of know, but you don't really think about it. But yes, 100%. The PhD has been more detrimental, especially to our community, than any thug. And I'll land there.
I love that Stacia brought up the IQ test. Let me unpack that a little bit. So what Stacia was arguing is the PhDs create these little mechanisms to diametrically affect our advancement in society. So the IQ test, ladies and gentlemen, I learned in grad school there are multiple intelligences. Now nobody wants to talk about this, but there's more than one intelligence. and one of them is called IP, information processing. So IP is actually, ladies and gentlemen, one of the lesser intelligences. Basically, IP means you can remember shit. You can remember facts. Well, guess what? Europeans are really good at that. Statistically, they're good at remembering facts. So basically, all of our litmus tests, the GRE to get in grad school, SAT, ACT, are based mostly on the ability to remember random facts. Um, so yeah, the tests have been weaponized. Excellent point, Stacia. I don't know if you can hear me. AY, who's a bigger threat to society, the thug or the PhD? I don't know. It's A, maybe.
Oh, yeah. AY.
AY. Okay.
Hey, brother. So to just answer the question, it is. I do believe it's the PhD because um, the thug on the street doesn't have as much influence outside of his own community, outside of what he's doing, compared to a PhD who can get into a level of power and be able to make changes when it yes, and policies and everything like that. And especially when it comes down to psychology, which I've been heavily looking into. And the one thing I've noticed when it comes down to studying psychologists and listening to some of the leading people is that it always seems like it's always a passive way of dealing with issues. It's always a you know, oh, how do you deal with this type of person? How do you avoid this kind of person? It's never anyone actually solving the problem. It's always seems, and I look at it as like, when it comes down to how the dominant society or the white supremacist act, they're not going to tell you what they do. They're going to explain, they're going to show you through their actions and through their own psychology, which they don't even put out. We've got a lot of, we're starting to get more information about how us as FBA, how we go through, how our psychological process is, but there hasn't been a lot of focus on their. I feel like I haven't found a lot of focus on their psychology, and I feel like they, the whole psychology field has actually are able to change the wording, because if you look up the definition of a narcissist or narcissism, it's it's damn near identical to what it's to being a white supremacist or a racist. They're just not using that term, and so when you look up how to deal with a narcissist, it's always, oh, how do you avoid it? Oh, that's just the way it is. And no one's actually saying, how do we actually get rid of this? Because it is causing harm. And usually a narcissist is someone who will work towards getting that PhD so that way they can make the change and have that status and then rub elbows and connect with other narcissists or racists as well, and then they get together and then they form a clique and they form a tribe, and then they start attacking everyone who's not on the team, basically.
I love that AY kind of brought us back to the original point. When we started this space, Wani brought up kind of cross-examined somebody on his he brought up music, and she was like, is that true? Well, and I said that academia does this red herring. Like in America, European academia kind of doesn't, it avoids original sources. Well, AY kind of said that with psychology. And it reminded me of something Dr. Amos Wilson said about psychology in America. He said, basically, Amos said psychology is bullshit. And he said psychology, medicine as well, focuses on symptoms. It doesn't focus on causation. So you have a whole system, like a lot of you brought up, that's poisoning the well, that's teaching us all these behaviors. We're being manipulated. Like the good example I brought up was BF Skinner. We're living in a big ass Skinner box called America, and we're exhibiting behavior that we're being trained to exhibit, if that makes any sense. And then when you go seek help for it, To quote Dr. Amos Wilson, the psychiatrist PhD, the psychologist PhD says, "How was your relationship with your mother?" That's a red herring. The relationship I had with my mother ain't got the shit to do with what society is programming to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's all a red herring. It's getting off the original point that we're being programmed in society. So is that an excuse? I don't know, but it needs to be addressed. So I'm gonna go with the bigger threat on the street is a PhD because, like most of you brought up, PhDs manipulate this whole motherfucking thing. Let me give you some evidence. David Banner, who's a genius, he's a black man, so society doesn't want to look at him that way. But I digress. David Banner was getting a master's degree at University of Maryland, and he was broke. On his weekends, he would drive up to New York and audition for the. He called them the suits. I'm gonna call them the A&Rs, but he would audition for a couple years, and they would turn him. They would turn him down. They would love his stuff, but one day, David said he bumped into a Jewish representative who took him outside and said, "Buddy, I love your music. I absolutely love it, but we're under mandate. We cannot sign. We are not supposed to sign a black rapper that has positive lyrics." So David, long story short, David took note of that because he had been rapping about God and stuff and religion. And David wrote like a pimp. And David said he went from being homeless in his sleeping in his van to a millionaire overnight by writing a music that glorified the pimp game. Well, I'm not gonna say any names, but I got a friend. Let's just say somebody I went to law school with is an entertainment attorney. I'm not even not name the town, but I bet y'all could guess. And he represents somebody. I'm not gonna give you any clues on this because I don't want to fuck up his bar license. Well, I have an entertainment attorney friend who may have represented a rapper, and in this rapper's contract, this rapper was supposed to use, like, in his contract, he had to say bitch and nigga and all this. That was done by psychologists with an overall plan of replicating that behavior. Why? Because at some point, the music industry was tied into the prison industrial complex, and PH fucking D's in psychology figured out that if you got rappers and people that people looked up to tell you to exhibit behavior that increased the probability of you going to jail, you would have more kids feeding into the prison industrial complex. Ladies and gentlemen, this is deep and this is real. What was that called? Was that COINTELPRO? Somebody help me out that knows about music. What was a um
Mockingbird.
No, I don't. I feel like it was COINTEL, but it was wherever, like, when music changed, like music in the '90s, it changed into like real violent, and somebody proved that it had something to do with the prison industrial complex. I'm gonna have to do some research on that.
Remember, it changed on both sides. Rock and roll
Sure did.
became satanic and rap became gangster. So I don't know what's going on.
Well, but what was that? Well,
I miss
doggone
what one he said. Rock and roll became what?
satanic
Satanic,
Ice
and
Cube
suicidal.
admitting you have Ice Cube admitting
violent.
that they were infiltrating
Yeah,
and
that's a good
requiring them
point.
to
But
do
when
that.
white America gets a cold, we get the flu. But it's a good distinction. It did hit white America too. 'Cause I had a big sister who was into white music, into Def Leppard, and it's funny.
White music. They don't have any music. They just have music that they took and bastardized
Let
and
me
took
ask you
from
something.
us and turned
Damn,
it
that's a
into
good point.
satanic.
Has anyone listened to
They
Ice
don't
Facts.
even
T?
have any music.
Did you know that Ice T made a
Huh?
CD of speed metal rap? Or I'm just gonna say speed metal rock. Did you
Oh
have you
yeah.
ever listened to it?
Speed metal rock?
Yes.
Oh
Never heard
no,
of
I
it.
don't know what that is.
Okay, Ice T made a CD of it, and I had it when I first joined the Marine Corps. And for some, don't ask me why I bought it, because I don't like rap. I definitely don't like speed metal, but I listened to it, and because it was rhythmic, well, kind of rhythmic, but because it was Ice T, you know how black people make stuff good, and it was speed metal, and it was really violent, but it was rhythmically violent, and it was speed metal. I really like that crap. So I'm just it just tickles me when you bring up the nihilism of rock music. And if you put black people in any genre, it's really attractive. I really hate that about us. We're just way too attractive for our own good.
Well, Wani brought up a really good point. It's kind of fucking with me because I can't think. I usually have sources, but I'm out walking my dog right now. I don't have my sources in front of me. I can't flip through my books like I usually do. But I know I do some type of program or some connection between an industrial complex. Like documentaries have been written on this, but I'm hazy on that. But what Wani said is true. Around the same time, white music was infiltrated with satanic. So that makes me wonder,
And you know what?
what was it?
They
What is
also
this really
had
about then?
they also had a kind of, what do you call it, like a campaign to make, because at one point everybody was singing and dancing together, right? We had the disco era, white people were singing and we liked Cher's song, and black people were singing and white people liked Donna Summer, and everybody was just mingling and having a good old time. Even gay people were over there at the party and they did their gay thing. They didn't
Uh oh, I
infringe
can't
on
hear.
what we
This
were
Wani talking?
doing. Oh boy. Yes, I am. Should I stop? I mean, I don't know what to do.
Well, we can hear you.
Hey, can anybody hear me? I can't hear
And then
anything.
I can hear
Weird.
you.
I can hear you.
It's I'm gonna move down and come back up.
Hey, Nikki, can you hear me? I don't hear anything.
I can hear you.
Wow, Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can
This
hear
is
you
very
fine.
strange. I don't hear anybody talking.
Can you hear me, Professor?
This is
Um, let me
crazy.
text him.
He can't hear?
I can hear you now, but I couldn't
You
hear
can-
anybody saying anything. That's the first time that's ever happened.
So, okay. So, like I was saying, during the disco era, we liked some white artists and white artists like black artists, and nobody was really busting anybody's chops about it. But then there came a time when these little nasty rock and roll people were kind of like, oh no, disco sucks. And you need to get away from that. Come and listen to this. They really did. They had literal campaigns against disco, calling it corny, stupid, dumb. And it kind of drug the white people back into their racist haze and over to the nasty, angry rock music that they had come up with, talking about, playing records backward and all this other stuff, uh, having all these satanic themes. And literally, those songs are cited as reasons that people killed each other. They
Right.
want to talk about that. They have way more songs that have been entered as evidence in court cases regarding murder than any rap song. So that's a fact. They're constantly murdering each other based on songs. Even songs that you don't think are that bad, murderers are riding around listening to it until they murder their kids. And those things are in court cases. So it kind of divided people again. Like I said, there was a time when things were
I
going in a
can't hear
different.
anything.
Who is that speaking? Black on black. Yeah,
There
they
was
fucking. They messing with this space. But go ahead, Wani. You cooking?
there was a time when things were going in a certain direction. We even had Blue Eyed Soul. Like I said, a lot of people, they had a more respectful attitude toward the music. They had black people in their bands. They paid homage to black music. Their attitude was not like Elvis Presley, who just took the music and ran to the white neighborhood with it. Their audience was Black Americans, and so the attitude was totally different. And then it became nasty again.
Wani, that's so interesting. Like as you spoke, I've never thought of this before, but I think you're right. Like we start to come together under music. We were all coming together. And what does Dr. Welsing say about that? That's a no-no because if we start coming together culturally, what will we start doing? Coming together in the bed. And
Yeah,
what
definitely. They don't want that. I
right?
get that part. I get that they don't want to, mingle together because they'll disappear. But remember when they showed that video of the guy singing and the girls thought he was going to be white? He started singing live and the girls were like, their faces were like, they wanted to go yay, and everyone was looking at each other like, we can't like him, even though we do, and he's a famous music star.
Frankie
They
Lemon.
Yeah, exactly. He was singing, and their expressions were extremely painful. White people were not allowed to like our music, so they had to steal it and go run across the street with it and play it in their on a venue for them, whiten it and make it their way. They don't have any music genre, so instead of making their own music and playing that, the hokey pokey, they knew that that wasn't going to fly. They knew that if they played the hokey pokey types of music that they came up with, that people would just sneak over to the neighborhood anyway, which is exactly why they were in the neighborhood to begin with, because they knew some good music was playing over there and it wasn't playing in their neighborhood. If they had anything to offer their people, the people wouldn't be over hanging around with us.
Yeah, yeah, which is interesting. I'm gonna theorize that it has to deal with genetic annihilation, but obviously there's forces in this country that don't want us to come together cohesively. I can prove that. If you pick up Lerone Bennett's "The Shaping of America," Lerone clear, and that's a book that's disappearing, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all can find it, I would buy it. It's disappearing off the shelves of libraries all across America. But in that book, Lerone proves that America, for a brief amount of time, was egalitarian. However ugly, America was equal. Like in the 1600s, you had white people in slavery. You had now. I'm not saying that anybody we got it the worst, but there was a brief moment of time where there was an egalitarian America. But the powers that be changed that shit real quick.
Professor, what's the copy of that book again? What's the title of that book again? As you were.
So
Is it he can't hear you? I think is it
I'm trying to
the
add people and
historian
just
of
give them the
Black
spinning
America?
wheel. Beauty, talk to us.
Is it called Historian of Black America? Wait, not Historian of Black America. The History of Black
Can
America?
you hear me, Beauty?
Yes, I
Oh,
can
he
hear
can't
you.
hear me.
I can't hear
Put me in
Nikki.
the poll.
Yeah, my space is currently under supreme attack. I tried to add somebody earlier and got the spinning wheel, but you
Can you hear Miss Nikki? You can hear
You
Miss Nikki.
couldn't hear Nikki when she was talking.
Wait, Wani, can you hear me?
Press mute every professor.
Yes.
Prof, tell professor to press mute everyone and then unpress it. Can you hear me, professor?
Uh-oh.
yeah, I didn't press
I
that.
pressed it.
No, no,
Okay.
he got to
I
press it.
was, oh,
Tell
he
him,
has to press it. Could
yeah,
you
tell him,
press mute and then unmute it?
professor, can you hear me?
I just did.
Can you hear me, professor? Alan? Oh, Lord.
You can't hear Nikki.
Professor.
Yeah, this is very strange. I hear John Horst, you sound like you're in the Matrix. Now, this is not my signal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in Memphis and I got 5 bars. I'm on Wi-Fi, and so it's not my signal. Somebody's targeting my space. Hmm.
Yeah, I
Does
mentioned,
it?
Any
oh,
advice?
God, I keep forgetting he can't hear me. Um,
Can you hear me?
Hey, Professor, can you hear
Hmm.
me?
tell,
I can hear you.
uh,
John, you can hear me, John Horst?
I hear you now, but earlier you were in the Matrix. But I hear you now.
Oh, do you hear the other lady? Because she keep calling for you.
Nah, I don't. I don't hear. Hmm. Nah, I don't hear her. Is Nikki? You trying to get me? Was Nikki talking?
Tell them don't worry about it. Just y'all just keep on talking.
She said
You
just
can't hear Nikki?
keep talking. I guess she can go down and come back up.
I'll
Okay,
drop if it help.
go ahead, John.
Nah, you were saying who's a bigger. The question is who's a bigger danger to society, the thug on the street or the PhD?
Uh huh.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the PhD because the PhD will always be put in positions to basically undermine us as a whole. So I'm most definitely have to go with the PhD on that one. That's really all I just wanted to say was just to answer that question because I didn't I just got in the room and I didn't really hear what everybody else had to say. So I'm gonna land right there.
Thank you, John. And I'm gonna say this. This we've had challenges on this space. It's obviously being targeted. I've never had it like this. But even though we're having challenges, I'm very proud of this space because what we've done together is open up the dialogue. That it's not the little boy on the street with pants hanging off his ass. It's these. I almost said something I would regret. It's these people in behind their desk with ties on that's fucking everybody up. Come on, beauty, and then we'll go to Kanye.
Okay, I'm gonna hurry up. Can y'all hear me now?
I hear you
Okay,
clear.
Miss Nikki, Wani, everybody can hear me.
I can
I got you.
hear Beauty. I can hear Beauty.
Okay, good, good, good. So we got service back in the building. Okay, what I wanted to say, I just wanted to address the topic real quick. Who was the bigger danger to society, thugs on the streets or the PhD? I would say they, if it was up to me, they need to work hand in hand with each other. I think that'd be a great idea. Cause I remember not too long ago, I would say like about 3 years ago, maybe three, yeah, like 3 years ago, I was helping out a friend getting a wound because I work. I don't do what you do critically, Miss Nikki, but I do, help out with like certain things with older people and my grandmother. She was a nurse, and she always taught me how to take care of yourself, take care of the wounds, take care of your family, and that right there goes hand in hand. And it was kind of funny that a friend of mine came to me in the time of need, like Shantae, I need you to bust this up out of me, clear me up, sew me back up, things like that. Now I was looking at him like, nigga, young man, you don't have a doctor to do this for you? He was like, no. So I think that those two, a thug on the street and a PhD, or a person that does like some type of what would you call it? Doctor, nursing, like everything go hand in hand. I don't know why they breaking us up to where as though because my grandmother showed me how to heal up people, and I don't know. I don't know why it's like a displacement to where as though we don't know how to take care of each other. I think that
Well,
you see what I'm
beauty.
saying?
Let me ask you a question. I hear you, but I'm gonna ask you a question. So, if you thought about America as a big family, right, a big old dysfunctional family, who would you say is a greater threat to that big old dysfunctional family? The nigga on the street, slanging rocks, or the little dude in the behind a desk, making a science project?
My son, he does the science project, so I can't say that he'd be a disruptor on the street because he's gonna always help you out with the math and things like that. I think we all need each other collectively. And the dude with the PhD or a woman who actually has the ability to heal, or like, because I just found me a new OBGYN, and it was hard for me to find a woman that's a Black American that will actually do everything from you, from the head to the toe, clear you up from cancer and every damn thing. Like, I haven't seen somebody like this in a long ass damn time. It's been like at least about 30 years I haven't seen that. So I think we all need each other hand in hand. And sometimes we
Yeah,
probably need to keep politics and everybody else up out our business. I think we are good creators. I think that we are like our own healers. And I don't know why we allowing other people to get in our business. And we probably just need to, I don't know.
I don't disagree with you. You kind of entered a little late in the room. Basically, the point I'm trying to get across with this title is people with advanced degrees are the cause of all of our trauma and our pain. It's not it's not coming from the young man on the street. The young man on the street just gets blamed for it. Sexy Red gets blamed for it, but it's not coming from Sexy Red. Sexy Red has a whole what do you call it, a PR firm
Hmm.
that's telling her what
She's
to
being
wear,
boosted up,
right?
They must have
propped
And
told
up,
her to walk around without no shoes on while she was pregnant then.
propped up.
wow. And I'm willing to bet her PR firm at least have master's degrees because it's really brilliant and it's cohesive in a ratchet type of way. But I did enjoy your contribution, Beauty. Um, I forgot who was next. Seventh Ward.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right,
Is he
thank you.
speaking?
Yeah,
Oh,
can you
brother.
hear me,
You can't.
everybody?
Yeah, they're
You
targeting me.
can't hear him. No.
If
No,
you
it's
can't
okay.
hear me, I'll
He can
drop
talk. I'm
down.
just y'all just tell me what he says.
I'll drop down if you can't hear me. Hear me. You want me to drop down? All right, I'm dropping down.
Yes. Sorry.
Hmm.
Sorry, sorry, sorry.
Is he done?
He dropped down.
Oh, okay. Chris had been waiting a while, and I tried to add you earlier, Chris, but it malfunctioned when I added you. So hopefully we can hear you now. Go ahead, Christopher.
Hey everyone, can you guys hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, awesome. To answer your question, I literally pulled over because I came in a little bit late, but I got a chance to hear a couple points on this. Uh, I think that the okay, in my opinion, they both play hand in hand to the overall umbrella structure of white supremacy. I think that if we were to put a chain of command on which person is a general or which person is a pawn. I think the thug is the pawn, but the thug is a social construct of the PhD white supremacists who create these types of theories that ends up being used and experimented on us socially and economically and politically to put us in a position where the thug has to find means and ways, by all means necessary, to at least have money in his or her pocket. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that when the time of judgment and that thug dies, they're gonna get out of free jail card because there's still a conscious decision behind that. But I think that when it comes to separating them, they both best way to look at a thug, in my opinion, is the PhD white supremacist is Dr. Frankenstein, and the thug is Dr. Frankenstein's monster. And so uh, I think that also socially in our current society right now, we don't do a good job by vetting or verifying people's credentials. I'm not trying to throw a shot at Dr. Umar Johnson by no means, but I'm just saying that, like, socially, whenever a person says they're a doctor, most of us don't go down the rabbit hole of finding not only the school they went to and making sure they actually went to that school, but also the grades and all the above. And there was this one show I saw on HBO. I think it was called I forgot what it's called, but it was about a psychologist. It was like an anthology show where this psychologist would just basically have different, patients, and they would talk about their issues, and it was basically that was the whole show. But the thing is, the psychologist had problems himself, and then later on, in the later seasons, they actually replaced him with a female actress, and she had problems as well. So just because a person has a PhD doesn't mean that they're not perverted. They're not the authority of morality, and I think that's another problem in our society as well. Is that whenever a kid does something foul in public school, like in middle school or high school, well, he's a straight A student. How could he be a monster? I think socially, regardless of ethnicity, there's this weird branding of morality based on how intelligent or how well a person performs in academia. And so, in my opinion, I think that the PhD is more dangerous because they are the creatives. They're the ones who are experimenting. They're the ones who are thinking outside the box, and they're the ones who are basically creating these ideas. But nevertheless, when it comes to the hierarchy of white supremacy, I think the ones who are positioned in the highest of highest position in the superordinate class, I don't think they're all PhD, credentialed people. I think that they probably come from generations of just old money and wealth, and they're able to be in that position to, because if you notice in academia, a lot of these research that happens, they have to get donations from somebody outside who actually has money.
Exactly.
So in the end, academia, as dangerous as the PhD, doctor is, he or and she, they need funding from someone who possibly has a more imaginative vision of white supremacy, and then it's the job of the PhD to figure out how to accomplish it. And so I know people don't like Jaguar Wright by no means, and to a certain extent. She was on the 5150 podcast a couple of days ago, this past Wednesday, and the one thing I will agree with her on, she was saying that um, the white supremacists have learned and understood that music is the most influential way to get people to basically be on program, or or basically mentally accept these type of programmings is actually music that actually does it. And I might she mentioned a doctor, but I forgot the person's name, but you can watch the 5150 show interview with her and other stuff she said, whether I agree or disagree. But I think that music, um, we've always been attacked when it comes to media, because if you look at like even the black exploitation movement, you look at Melvin Peoples with when he first made that movie Sweetback Badass Song. That was the first step of actually us not only delineating but also creating our own Hollywood, but then, and at that same exact time, Hollywood was actually going into bankruptcy, and they realized that we should start focusing on making these black-centered movies, but we're going to still project our projections of them onto it. So that's so we start.
Well, Chris brought up a really good point. Thank you, brother. And I don't want your point to get lost in the sauce because it was so powerful. You actually dropped the mic on the topic. Like, what else can we talk about now? The point that Christopher brought up was and I'm paraphrasing you, brother. PhDs are, however, so dangerous, are just tools. They're tools of whoever. What's the saying? He who haveth the goal maketh the rules. Now, when I was doing my COVID-19 research, I was doing it for a United States congressman that represented $1 trillion about worth of power. So we were just tools working for a congressman, um, and I'm gonna leave that alone. But what I want to kind of show y'all, if y'all look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the jumbotron, these are the needs of and notice it's named after a white guy. That's warfare right there. Why do it have to be? Why can't it just be the hierarchy of needs chart? It's named after Maslow. That's an attack. But anyway, if you look at the bottom, physiological needs, we need water, food, um, shelter. Right above that is safety and security. You need that to get to love and belonging. We want love and belonging. Well, we'll get back to the thing. Well, my point of that is, like the gentleman said, music is used to portray these attacks on us, and they dangle um, uh, like as extrinsic motivation. They dangle, hey, if you do this, then you'll have love and belonging. Hey, if you do this, you'll have food and shelter. So that's used. This is all done by the PhD class. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about PhDs. I'm talking about the PhD class, educated professional class, which can also include attorneys, medical doctors, and etc. Black on black. Oh, I can't let them up. Doctor. I don't know if I can pronounce that name. Doctor, Your Highness.
Hey, you guys. Peace, everyone.
Hey,
Peace, family. I love hearing everyone. I love the dialogue. Shout out to everybody. This is my first time, like, actually speaking, but I just wanted to say that um, it's definitely the PhD. And just speaking from my experience in Chicago, so even earlier you was saying like the sound and stuff going off. Like every time I try to say something, I have those issues. But I just wanted to say that as far as the South Side of Chicago, um, they have actually made blackness synonymous with trauma. Blackness synonymous with gang violence, gang culture, and I just wish that everybody in the whole world could like really see Black Chicago like in its truest sense. When you go past our public domains, and it's probably even like all over the United States, when you go past our like predominantly black neighborhood public domains, you see desolation. You see like not really no economic development. You see a lot of immigrants that are running the businesses. You see a lot of people that are on drugs and just hopelessness, right? But if you turn into our neighborhoods, they are like utopias. Like in the South Side of Chicago, people talk about old block like it's the all of Black Chicago when it only makes up about 10% of Black Chicago on the South Side. Number one. Number two, 80% of Chicago black Chicagoans on the South Side are working class. Even if they are coming from low economic, socioeconomic backgrounds, they are working class Black people, which means they go to work, they take their children to school, they pay their bills, they're not in any type of criminal activity. So as of right now, me and my community are actually in a battle with people who are people who are the educated class, who are our aldermen, people who create policies. So what's going on right now is in
yes.
certain parts of areas in my area, I'm not going to say specific, you come in my area, beautiful neighborhood that they never show. I'm talking we live amongst mansions, and Black people are in these mansions on the South Side of Chicago. So why when you go in our public areas, we're all paying taxes. Most of us are homeowners. But why when you go in our public spaces, the spaces that we actually pay taxes into, why is that not reflecting the working class Blacks and the upper middle class Blacks that are living in these
Oh Lord.
neighborhoods? So recently, I realized as I'm like, taking my children to school, I'm seeing like a lot of these like people on the streets, as you see normally, leaning on drugs, like, out of their mind, right? And so I'm like, oh my goodness, usually when people go past our neighborhoods, they might automatically assume like, oh my goodness, these people don't care about their neighborhood. They don't care. Look at how they think. That's how the perception is being created when you go past, drive past our neighborhoods. But what's actually happening is that these policymakers, these our educated brothers and sisters, are creating policies that are um feeding into situations that are harming our community. So, for example, I have three daycare centers, a high school, and like an elementary school, all surrounding my neighborhood. Why do I have within a 2 mile radius 4 codeine clinics? So as I'm taking my children to school, I'm seeing all these addicts coming to these codeine clinics to get their codeine, and then now it's creating this thing. They walking past the children are walking past this. I call these codeine clinics every morning. They're hanging out by the bus stop. They're drinking, and they're claiming that they're helping these people, but they're really bringing these people to our community. They they
Right.
they even have buses that come. So not only do we have these open codeine clinics, no community centers, No youth programs. We have youth programs that's disguised as youth programs, and they actually codeine clinics. It is crazy, and you know, it's a fight. But I really want like black PhDs or black educators to really look outside of like trauma when it like connects to blackness. Because even in Chicago, nobody can really have a successful program because it has to be based on trauma. And then what is that? Where does that leave the kids who might not have trauma? Like, where do they go? Where do they play? Where do they belong? And then how come every time we actually have governmental uh grants to for our community, it has to be synonymous with trauma or some type of dysfunction. So now we have to like hyper focus on the trauma instead of actually focusing on the solution. So it's like we also got to be very careful of how we structure our words, because I'm actually in school and I'm studying child psychology, and I'm looking at them saying that they're actually making blackness synonymous with trauma, dysfunction. And just because you are in a low socioeconomic background, that don't necessarily mean that you have a dysfunction or you are in trauma. And I just, you see how they paint black Chicago on the south side. That is weaponized against us. So all this sensationalism around trauma, we have too many trauma programs in my community. We have so many trauma programs in my community that we can't even engage with the children in things that could actually benefit them, like literacy, science, environmental awareness. We can't even get to that because we're still focused on that one little trauma layer. I got I got community members doing programs talking about they do programs that like that's supposed to help the community, but it's still like based in trauma. Like I know somebody who got like was doing a basketball community. I mean a basketball they were doing a basketball program, and the flyers had blood on the basketball rim. So it's just stuff like that. Like
What?
we can't we can't sensationalize trauma. We got to focus on the actual, like, not just the causes. I feel like we focus on causes too much. We got to focus on the solution. But then look, will you get the grant? And I land my plane.
No, no, you won't. You have to. I mean, these last two speakers really like dropped the mic on this stage. Like, yes, you will not get the grant unless you play into the function that the PhD created or the academic created. They know what they're doing. What do you what does fire create? Go
I
ahead,
just
one.
wanted to say, I think it's a plan to destroy every neighborhood because they had a whole fight out in, I remember it was in San Diego County, where this very snotty little community, they tried to put a halfway house there. I mean, why? Well, these people are paying millions of dollars. It's not even that good of an area, but whatever. They're paying millions of dollars, and they tried to plunk one of the very uh, a lot of these houses and make it look like it was a regular house. And the community fought. They said, no, we don't want this in the house. We got children walking back and forth to school. These people are sex offenders. They're drug addicts. They have all kind of problems. We don't want to hear. Do you know they lost? They put it there. And I can assure you that little white girls have to walk past drug addicts all over California, all over this beach area, up and down the whole coast. If you have a little white lily skinned daughter with blonde hair, she's definitely walking past people shooting up. So I think that something, oh yeah, I promise you that. Somebody wants to destroy every neighborhood on earth. I
It's
don't know
just
what it
general.
is. I mean,
It's general discussion, and I appreciate you, Wani, for
and
giving me
we
that
get it
perspective because
first. We always get it first and worse. But
yeah,
I guarantee you
but it's
it's
everybody.
spreading because just like the drug epidemic, remember? Yeah, it was all targeted to us, and it wasn't that white people were not using crack because they already admitted that they used crack more than black Americans or black people, and they just targeted and made it look like us, okay? But statistically, white people did use more crack. But they got different treatments, and it we get exposed when we do stuff. We get jailed, we get thrown to the wind, and they get to tuck into their little families, and they get protection and safety nets, and people kind of put them somewhere and get them together. We don't have as many safety nets, so we just look like we're all out there. So they got themselves cleaned up or they died, but now that's not happening. They're laying out in the street. They're looking crazy in the street. There was an 80-year-old woman hitting her head on a light post. I'm not saying she was on drugs, but she was hitting her head on a light post out here, crawling on the ground. And a white woman that was visiting asked me to call the police. She said, "This is not right. Can you call the police?" And I just was to the point where I was like, I don't even care what people are doing in the street. But in fact, it was like an 80-year-old woman hitting her head on a light post. And I didn't want to call the police. You know why? Because I knew the police wasn't going to do anything. And I waited with her because she was very concerned. And I said, okay, I'll play along. Called the police, and the cops just looked over at the woman hitting her head on the light post. Didn't go over, didn't say, "What's
Wow.
wrong, ma'am? Let me gather you up, put you in the police car, and take you to an old folks' home." Nothing, nothing. So they don't care if they look crazy in the street. They don't care if they don't have dignity. They don't care if their people are out there on drugs, rolling around. What's that street in Philadelphia? They look crazy right now. But it all started with us looking crazy.
Very fascinating. Very. I'm still unpacking. And good point, Swanee. What I've learned today, we all have our biases, and I'm from a foundational Black American neighborhood. For the majority of my life and career, I've served foundational Black Americans. This year isn't a very new exception. But the reason why I brought that up is what they call it, confirmation bias. When you want to see what you want to see, but Wani is correct. It's hitting everybody. I can think of a couple years ago. Well, I say a couple, 10 years ago, um, in Birmingham. No, it's more than 10 years ago. Like 13 years ago in Birmingham, I was teaching at a high school, and we fought to get this beautiful new high school built in the hood, multi-million-dollar high school, and they built this gorgeous high school. Um, but the lunchroom, which was encased in glass, you could look out on the street, was looking directly at a liquor store, and which is against the law in Birmingham. You can't have a liquor store or a strip club so many feet away from a school or a church. But the city council woman fought to keep it there. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is, Doctor, Your Highness, please visit my spaces. I love your perspective. That goes back into what you were saying, Doctor, Your Highness, about this is manufactured by our leadership class. I think Coach was
Oh,
next. Then we'll go to
my
True
question
Station.
is, where are they going to live? They've messed up every city. Where are they going to live? On Mars? I don't think so.
That's the plan.
Mm, You
That's where
can't.
Elon
You
Musk is
can't
trying to
go.
go.
No, that's a pipe dream. They're not going to Mars. There's no. There's the atmosphere is wrong. What are they going to live under a dome and grow food? No, no, no. So where are they going to? Are they just trying to trash the planet? Like, what are they doing? I tell me the plan. I don't know, because it's just going from one neighborhood to another, and there's nowhere to go because they're going to trash the next neighborhood.
Now, if we want to get real deep, Wani, since we're kind of touching on psychology, we can look at nature versus nurture, that argument. And if you look at the European nature, they came about during that young Dryas, during that ice age, where trash in one place and run into the next. That made a lot of sense back then. You know what I'm saying? Because it was all a barren wasteland. Just kill up all the animals, have a party. Um, Kill some people while you're at it, because they're probably weak, you know what I'm saying, and they're just going to slow the pack down and move on to the next place. So we're watching the unconscious mind of that young Andreas play out in real time, and it just doesn't fit the what the Germans would call the zeitgeist, the time ghost of what we're dealing with right now. Like, we actually need somewhere to live, dude.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Plus, we already
I
lived
don't
on
know. Go ahead.
Mars, and we had to come here because it didn't work out. I think. I think.
That's what Juan is referring. I have to elaborate on this. What Juan is referring to is there was a study done by the U.S. Army military intelligence had a division of astro. What do you call it? Astro projection. Um, Basically, they had psychics. Like this is real shit. You can look it up. And they, long story short, the head officer in charge was a damn psychic. Like he was trained how to be a psychic, a remote viewing. That's what I was looking for. Well, anyway, all you needed to do is give the guy a picture or uh, artifact from a place you want to see. He could look at it, touch it, or feel it, and come out of his body through a special technique and remote view where it was. So, satellite in the '70s, satellites had just taken pictures of those faces on Mars. Y'all seen the picture? It's a pyramid, and something looks like a face. And they said, "Man, what the hell is this?" And they gave it to this army officer, and he remote viewed it, and long story short, he said he came out of his body, went through the atmosphere of Mars, and heard a beacon, doot 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 doot. Like what the fuck is that? And he said that beacon was coming from the pyramids that you can clearly see in the picture. You type in pyramids on Mars, see the images. And he said he zoomed into a pyramid, and it was gigantic, about big as a city. And he said that pyramid was full of um cryostasis chambers full of 10-foot tall humanoid. They looked just like us, but they were 10, 11 feet tall. And he said it was too late. They had all died. And he zoomed out and he saw like a war. Basically, he was arguing, he brought up the issue of what if we as human beings are really refugees from an intergalactic battle that came from Mars, which would make sense because they still don't know what the fuck the pyramids were for. Could they be escape pods? But I digress. Come on, coach.
Yo, man. Listen, shout out to you, Professor, on the spot, everybody in the space. Uh, the movie, I take notes whenever I can on this call. I got a lot of notes, but I can't even get to them right now because this is where we at. The movie, Get Out. I don't even watch the whole movie. I just scroll to I want to see the end when he's in the basement. And that troglodyte Neanderthals in the U.S. Citizens classified as white European mafia peasant criminal came on the TV screen and said, "We want to see what you see. And we want to have what you have. We are who we are because of who we are. There ain't no other lineage on this planet like us, and we're not like them. No disrespect. Won't operate the same as nobody. Don't care what your skin complexion is or isn't. You got to be born into this." Yo, man, shout out to us for educating ourselves and educating our people. I don't care what your role is to advocate and cheerlead for us. And 9 times out of 10, you already doing it in the space that you in, where what you enjoy doing, and you still able to advocate for us in a sophisticated way wherever we are. That's why we like being around us. Whenever we enter any building, whether it's a conference call or uh, an, an event, we always step in the building looking for us. Head nod, something. Unconsciously, we do it. I tested it out on myself a few times, so I know what I'm talking about. I've experienced the proof of concept that, damn, I didn't even realize I'd be doing that. Yeah, we a whole vibe. We a whole vibe just being around each other, absolutely doing nothing. And this delineation is helping us separate us from everybody else. Whatever your culture is, cool. That's how y'all get down. That's all right. We don't do that shit over here. And you don't do what we do. We compete with ourselves. We are our own competition. I don't care if it's cooking a meal, taking an exam. We always said, I never get my late grandmother, my mother's mother. She had made some gravy and biscuits and was making uh, chicken, bacon chicken. You know, me and my cousins was a little hungry, like we wanted something to eat. She gave us some biscuits, homemade, that my grandpa made, and some rice with this gravy she made. And we not allowed to lick the plate. But boy, me and my cousins, we was sneaking licking the plate. And my grandma come back say, you know, to be done soon. That should hold y'all. It's like she was like, it was a good. We was like, yeah, it was delicious, grandma. We was about to lick this plate. We know we couldn't lick the plate. We just asked for some more. She said, well, I got to make it better next time. We looked at each other like confused, like, hold up. We ain't lick these damn plates. This lady talking about she gotta make it better next time. Wait, what? We unconsciously do that. We challenge our own individual greatness. That's just who we are. Speak my piece.
Wonderful coach. You made me think about my grandmother and the late grandmother in Washington D.C. off Benning Road. Same experience. Except when she would cook cakes, we would sneak and lick the plate. Anybody used to lick the icing when they used to make cakes? That
Yes.
shit was so not. I said icing. I meant batter.
Yes.
That shit was
Whatever
so
you said,
delicious.
yes.
Oh wow. I want some batter to
I
lick.
want all those
Anyway,
things.
that was good stuff. When Coach come on, sometimes the whole space turned into a motherfucking Spike Lee movie or something. Everything gets sentimental. I appreciate you, Coach. Come on, Stacia.
Okay. I just want to say, as far as what I believe her name was Your Highness was saying, about the neighborhood, and I mean, all that sounds like a gentrification or weaponizing or trying to gentrify, putting like those codeine centers. I mean, that's how the whole
I
um
I
turning it turning it into like a distressed area, even if it's not. I mean, no matter what, no more land is going to be created. So the only way to get their hands on property cheap, which is like a thing, and has been a thing for a long time, you're gonna see them trying to put like shelters and certain types of facilities and rehab facilities and things of that nature in order to buy up property cheap. Make if you have a place where you have drug addicts hanging out, those older people in those houses aren't going to feel safe anymore. What are they going to do? They're probably going to try to sell them so that they can move. But that also had me thinking, Professor. I was trying to see, like, are there any innocent PhDs? And I'm like, nah, even the economists, they are like the biggest offenders. I mean, capitalism deciding, hey, a whole continent has to stay dirt poor because they need raw materials dirt cheap. So Africa
Yep.
has to stay in its position in order to maintain what's happening in the West. Um, And I mean, it's just, you just giving me a lot, or I'm sure giving all of us a lot to think about. Um, it's like, as far as Black people, when we talk about being afraid of, educated people, it's always the white coats, like the white coats, that experimented and, do us dirty medically. We don't think about, the economist or the professor or the PhDs. That's not something that we really think about as being a danger, but they are the ones that are literally orchestrating everything. They were the ones that, when we were here or got here as foundational Black Americans or ADOS or whatever you call us, they were the ones who said that we weren't human. They were the ones that said we don't experience pain. They were the ones that said that we can be separated from our kids and children because, we don't feel those kinds of emotions. They were the ones who said that, we had to remain at the bottom. We lack intelligence. It's like it's just ongoing in every aspect of movement in our lives that have been impacted, whether it's economically, medically, socially. I mean, these PhDs are behind all of this as far as orchestrating the circumstances. And as we sit here, it makes you even more angry as far as us, asking for reparations. um, but I don't want to keep everybody too long. I still know it's the work week, so I'll go ahead and land there. Well, actually, no. I just wanted to say one more thing, Wani. When you were talking about the drug addicts and how drugs impacted our community and how white people actually used crack more, and actually they used drugs more, period. But it seems like when there was a drug epidemic, the crack epidemic specifically impacting our community, you saw that in so many aspects of our entertainment. Like every show you turned on, whether it was a comedy, a drama, whatever, whether it was even related, they just had to put crackheads or the drug addict in there. But notice that as white people have been dealing with this opioid epidemic and this fentanyl, how you do not see it reflected the same way in their entertainment as you
In
see it in
comedy. Yep.
ours. Right.
We
You
had that
know,
on what was that show? With the Wayans. They
right.
had
In
those
living color.
in living
Hmm.
color, ye old crackhead, all kind of
Right.
characters.
Right. And you do not see that like in white entertainment. It's always, oh, he's a nerdy techie guy, or, he's really smart, or, he runs the startup.
Right.
It's like that. So yeah, this is all very mind blowing and just an amazing conversation. And I want to thank you, Professor and Wani and Nikki, for hosting the space. And I'll land there.
Oh yeah, it's essential. And Stacia, you mess with my mind because I entertained you for a moment intellectually. If I this gonna piss some people off, but I don't give a fuck because it's the truth. Deal with it. I asked myself the question: surely are there any innocent PhDs? And the first thing to come to my mind with innocence was PhDs in divinity, religion. And then my mind was like, hell no, they not innocent. Hell no, they not. Because that's the worst one. Because in schools of
What are
divinity.
they studying
Oh
over
my
there?
gosh.
What are they studying over there? I have no idea.
Right. Um, I had one of my students, his mama was getting her master's degree at a really good, prestigious theological school. And she was telling me how that shit works. She said when you get to writing your thesis or dissertation, you have an option of choosing two choices: either to tell the truth about what happened in the canon of Holy Bible, or you can pick the path that most people pick, which is how to run a church as a business. And she said like 95% of the people pick how to run the church like a business. And Chris Hedge is one of my favorite scholars, has a master's degree from Harvard Divinity School. And Chris said this, and I shut my mouth. He said Harvard Divinity School is responsible for like 90% of people that go to Harvard Divinity School graduate as an
What?
atheist.
Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, you have to like be
Oh,
ordained. Like you have to be ordained
that's
to go there.
terrible.
You have to pick a faith, a Buddhist, or you have to be supported by your community, like ordained minister or something. And he said 90% of them graduate that motherfucker like atheist.
What
Like, wait a minute.
happened?
They read what me and you know of how the Lord means Baal. Like nobody knows this stuff like that. The Lord, you're talking about a dark Lord that was looking for gold. Like, wait a minute, I thought you told me that the letter J wasn't created until 1600. Like they hit that, and then they're like, man, uh,
Uh-oh.
I, I don't know who is next. Andy. Or John Horse. Go ahead. It was
Okay,
John.
so I had said something earlier, but this touched on what a lot of people were saying. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and on the north side of Minneapolis, it's a YMCA, and I ain't been in it in a minute. I was just thirsty one day, so I walked in there, and it was a black lady behind the desk, and I'm like, "Hey, can I just get some water real quick?" And she was like, "No, I basically can't come in there. I gotta be a member." So I'm like, "Okay, what you gotta do to be a member?" She said, "You gotta be 40 years old or older, or they got a kid program from first grade to sixth grade." So I'm like, okay, so I got a 15-year old, like he can't come in here. She was like, no. I'm like, what? So I said, they got other locations. They got 15 locations. And out of the 15 locations, this is the only location that has that rule. And the person that's in charge, she's a tether. I don't know where she from. And so I'm like, so they got a big swimming pool, they got a full basketball court, they full workout room, and you got to be 40 years or older. If you 15, 16, 20, 25, 31, you can't come in here. And we just had four Kia boys. They had got shot in the car because they stole somebody's car, and they had a tracker on, and they tracked them down and shot them. They was like 17 and 16. They just got shot in the car. They over here stealing cars. And I was just telling them, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't no, y'all shutting down the program, so y'all creating this. And like you were saying in the what this group, what this talk is about, these is people with degrees that know that shutting this down is gonna just create problems. You know what I'm saying? So I just land my plane right there. I just wanted to throw that story out there.
Hey, Professor,
Yeah, yes,
that
sir.
meritorious manumission excavation. Yeah, we need to dig into that.
Yeah, we might have another space
Yeah,
on
we
that
we
because
gonna have.
it's
Yeah,
deep.
that's gonna definitely have to be a space, bro. Speak my piece.
Yeah, but unfortunately, y'all are getting a taste of what I've been struggling with the last couple years of my life. Is that academia is diametrically opposed to me as a black man. It's just it, and there's no exceptions. It's diametrically opposed to anything good pertaining to a foundational black American. And that sounds like a bold, crazy ass statement, but prove me otherwise. In any fucking subject, even that African American studies shit is rooted into the out of Africa theory, which says black American, you're really an African. you know, not true. Andy.
I'm so glad we're having this space. I'm getting ready to write a paper about the black hole on the cosmos, but I'm going to write it on the black hole, the cosmos, and the existential crisis of the world. And I'm going to relate that to how the black hole symbolizes what we're living through. And it is these spaces that I draw from. When you made that comment about what you've been going through as a black man, you know I consider myself a politically black man. Politically, I consider all black people a political black man. You already know that. And so if I were not going online, then I would have to challenge or confront this face to face. So it's much easier for me to do it intellectually. So I know that you're telling the truth. But I want to touch on what Dr. Your Highness, that point that she brought out about how they're targeting her community, a middle class community, and they're blemishing it. And this is one of the things. Um, that I fault our Black PhDs for as well. Yes, we have trauma. Yes, we are traumatized. Yes, we have damage. Yes, we are damaged people. But once again, they totally have a, a cognitive dissonance about causation and the damage that they cause people to be in. We are systemically impoverished. And when you use the term impoverished, people will just look at that from a monetary standpoint. But there's a certain thing that when you withdraw money from a people, or steal money from a people, or oppress people from earning money, there's a whole system of ills that follow that. And, we can't protect our communities because of it. We can't get proper legislation to protect our communities. I'm not against having rehabs. I'm not against having um, different things in our communities to help people who are damaged. But just like she pointed out, where is the sanctity for our communities in their planning? I'm going to give you all an example. Um, I live in I'm gonna say like on the outskirts of wealth here in Texas, like on the outskirts of wealth in Irving, which has been colonized by immigrants, Indians. So it's a heavily immigrant population. We moved further out where you have a lot of Hispanics, you have a lot of Africans, just a lot of different people. I rarely see Black Americans. I see a lot of Africans, but rarely do I see Black Americans. So when you live in that type of situation politically, you can see that the government is not forced to focus on those areas the same way they would if those areas were predominantly more American, not just Black American. So I need you all to hear me out. More American. So because it's not more American, the services look different. I would never go to a doctor out here. They're all foreign. I don't use even I don't even use the grocery store out here except to get like Cheetos and wine. That lets you know how bad I hate this area. I don't get fast food out here. I don't do anything in my community except drive to the area that we moved from because it's more my speed, so to speak. Okay. And that's because when it's not a lot of American political pressure in a certain sector, though you can see the lack of services, you can see the ugliness, so to speak, the architecture, what they don't put put federal funding in. And right before I moved, they had put in uh, a rail system. This is one of the things that people in Texas fight against is mass trans because a lot of these little enclaves don't want mass trans in their communities. Well, you know why that is, okay? And this meant at this particular train station that was moved from where it should have been, the temperatures would get to be between like 125 to 130 degrees in the summertime. That's how hot Texas is. You all know that, right? And it was just like an unusable train station, for mass trans, and because of the temperatures. And you would think the people would have coalesced together and said, we're going to fight this, but they didn't. And you know why? Because of the high immigrant population. They accept third worldification. That's what I call it. And it was just horrible. It was just like totally unusable. So I mean, and her speaking about um, them just blighting our neighborhoods because we're black. That's just something that's so powerful. And all the studies that went into this. This is one of the things that I'm speaking about because when I used to work for a consulting firm, we did a lot of consulting work for the mass transit system. So I was privy to a lot of that thought and a lot of the narrative that shaped um, policy and where they should place the mass transit. And guess what? They always wanted to place this mass transit systems in our neighborhoods. They wanted to disrupt our flow of traffic, have large populations congregating in our area. Stop it, Andrew. And it was just it just made your neighborhood just very ugly. And I saw, I talked to, I worked with the people who were on these planning commissions. Now, obviously, they did not look like me, and so just looking at them and just talking to them, and it was just a total disconnect from any type of respect for humanity, um, courtesy, protection. It's so dangerous. And you would say, well, Andrea, Did John Wally Price speak up? And I don't know if you all are familiar with him. He's a county commissioner. He's very loud here in Dallas. Okay. Did any of the other black leadership speak up about these issues? No, they were silent. I didn't see anyone there. And I guess I don't want to indict my people because I don't play into black pathology, but there has to come a point when we as a people have to gather our intellectual prowess in service of ourselves, irrespective of remuneration. So even if we're not getting money, if we're not getting paid, okay, if we have to make that sacrifice to hold these spaces, to come together, to create a canon of thought that we can arm ourselves with to fight against the policies in a manner that's effective. This is what we have to do. And on that, I'll land.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to seventh ward. Gonna have oh, Florence.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah. I just want
I didn't know
to.
your hand was up.
Yeah, I just want to. I was listening to Wani. The whole thing is they want to destroy America, totally destroy it. And I live in California. In California, there's 70 acres of where fire have burned. It said last time I saw it, I think about a week ago, it said it was 0% contained. And they're not going to build those houses back. Downtown Los Angeles, all those big buildings, apartment buildings, right among those, big towers, big Wells Fargo building, and they're empty. Nobody works in there. People are living there. And when I saw one the other day, I told my son it was looked like it was about a 60-story apartment building. It had little patios out on the side. I told my son, I said, that's totally disrespectful to God. That you're going to build a building that high, a little patio sitting out there in an earthquake prone area. These people want to keep everybody under control where they can see them, watch them. It's not going to be any more housing. I was looking at Florida where the earthquake came. The big home, the people say, oh, we're going to sell. Well, who's going to buy them? And you're not going to build them back because the insurance company's not going to insure it. And one of those big insurance company in California left California. Though all those houses where the fire burned, they're not going to build them back at all. You know,
And you
and
can't
and
see
I
any benefit for anybody, can you? Because like I said, it used to just be us getting kicked in the teeth, but now you got these people that live in Malibu complaining that all these crackheads or meth addicts are all over their property and they can't do anything, and they're even now shooting each other. Some guy was camping on some property out there, and some homeless guy walked up and shot him in the head, and he was in a tent with his daughters. That was all white people and one on drugs. So, like, who's benefiting from all this? I don't get it. Where are these politicians going to live? Where are the Nancy Pelosi's going to live? There is nothing.
building their bunkers, under the ground. They don't realize the sinkholes are going to kill them too. You
They
know,
can't live in
Wow.
the bunker. I mean, like, it has limited. Like, they
they
always
getting
say, we're
ready.
going to go run in the bunker when the nuclear bomb hit. And then what? Then what? It's still going to be nuclear radiation up here. You
You can
can't
get
stay.
poisoned.
You
Yeah.
can't stay down there forever. You don't have groceries coming in forever. So you at some point have to bring your behind upstairs and get cancer the slow way, while the rest of us are just greasy prints on the sidewalk.
They don't think that far, because the only thing they think is we're going to be safe. And when they come in with a nuclear weapon and kill everybody, then they come out. This is their thinking. How they think. But they are not going to. It's not going to work the way they want it to work. That's one thing for sure. But they don't intend for nobody to have a home. They're not home. All this is going to be over. They want to destroy this country first, and that's why it's like it is. That's why all these people are coming here to help destroy it, and they want to wipe us out. And that's how they feel they can do it. They're encouraging us to have abortions, while they come and have all the children. They're wiping us out. They're lying about our population here. It's just a whole lot of guys. It's us, really. We are the center of attraction.
Yep. Always have been.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Florence. It's good to see you. It's really sad, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all are some of the smartest people I know, And one good thing I do is I can combine things and come to a conclusion. And a conclusion that I'm getting out of this space and others is either A, the United States is trying to self destruct, or B, outside forces are trying to destroy the United States, and that's very concerning because America's greatest intellectual, who never went to college, by the way, James Baldwin, said that would happen. James Baldwin in The Fire Next Time said that either America is going to right its wrongs or right her wrongs, or she's going to be destroyed by fire. Righting wrongs, James Baldwin said before anybody mentioned reparations, was in essence a reparations plan. So if America doesn't um, apologize for the things she's done to the foundational Black American and issue reparations, James Baldwin's prophecy will be fulfilled. I'm gonna give last words to. Oh, we got a new guy. Resco, talk to us, and then 7-4 to have what last words.
Um, Hi, thanks, Professor, for allowing me to speak on your space. I've just got a question, really, and perhaps it's for clarification purposes. The term or the phrase "they" keeps on coming up quite regularly, and my question is, who are we referring to when we say "they"? Um, and the question
They
is
not
open to
like
the
us.
panel.
Give me more context. Not like
Well, no, I've only been listening to the space for about 45 minutes, and the phrase "they" has come up quite a bit. You know, they're doing this and they're doing that. So I guess for clarification purposes, I just wanted to find out who we're referring to
The
when we say
man, the
"they."
man, the man.
Oh, the man. Okay.
You know who that is?
Right. Okay. Cool. Cool. I'm with you.
The
Okay.
powers that be,
The powers
the
that be.
overlords, the ones that keep jacking
the
everybody's
dominant
number up,
society.
Right.
the
Right. Right.
dominant society.
I mean, the other thing I would like to add. Obviously, I'm not in America at the moment, and I think this is just
At the moment, is that a
America.
threat?
Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you said
So
at the
I'm,
moment. Are
yeah,
you threatening to come here with that accent?
I've been there for time.
Stay over there. Stay over
um,
there.
I don't think this is exclusively an American problem. I think it's a global problem.
We
Um,
never said it was.
no, I know. I'm just
What's
giving
your
my 2 cents.
lineage, dear?
Sorry,
What's your lineage?
what's my heritage?
Li-
What's your lineage?
Lineage, heritage, whichever.
British, African. If we go way back.
You're not British. You're African.
Sorry.
From what country in Africa? What country in
I
Africa?
don't want to dox myself because of certain things that happen. So
Okay,
let's just say
so you're
Oh no 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 no! That's not doxing. I'm not telling you everything about me. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm not doxing myself. So I'm just asking you what country you from in Africa. It's
Nigeria.
pertinent.
let's just call it the southern part of Africa. We'll leave it there. Um,
Okay, and you're
Wow.
in Britain because of why?
so I
And you're
suppose
claiming to be British. You're claiming to be British. Why again?
well because
Why
that's
would you
what I
do
am. I'm
that?
British.
It makes okay. So
Yeah.
am I German if I go over to Germany?
If you're born in Germany, yeah, you'll be classed as German.
How in the world?
Didn't we have a space like this?
You guys have major problems.
I, I,
So I'm
I'm a
English
I'm
because
a
I'm speaking
I'm a
English, right?
black American no matter where I go. The ethnicities don't change because you crawled over up under somebody else's turtle shell.
and what did I say my ethnicity was?
Whatever.
Okay, cool. So I mean, this is obviously for me the way I see it.
Yeah, what is your tribe? What is your tribe?
What is my tribe?
Lion African.
I don't understand.
That's a
I don't
tribe. I
understand why
just
you're
made it
being
up.
um,
I'm hostile. I'm very hostile.
exactly. I don't know what that will
You
achieve.
like it? You like
Okay.
it?
It doesn't really matter either way
Hold
for
on,
me.
hold on. In all fairness,
Uh,
Roscoe, we're just asking you where your family's from, what country in Africa. Like that's a fair question, and it seems disingenuous and evasive for you to say, "Oh no, that's not important."
no, I don't.
When you're in our space, finding out information about us.
South
Eh,
Africa. Put it that way. There we go. Yeah.
okay, all right.
Um, And I guess the point I was trying to make is that this is
But
if
you
we're
said
talking about
everything is messed up, and I'm saying you're part of what's messing it up.
and how am I messing it up? Can you explain, elaborate?
You're in Britain.
Okay, so me coming to Britain is messing up the world,
Yes.
right? Do you understand that American
Yes, it
imperialism,
is.
yeah, has
No, we're
gone
not
into this
talking
country
about that. What does that
overtly
have to
and
do with
covertly
you
to
taking
civilized
your
nations
South
for millennia.
African
The
behind
world has been
over
messed up
to
for
the
millennia. The
UK?
world did not stop being messed up because I
Stop,
came
stop, stop,
to England.
stop
I mean,
babbling. Just relax a minute. Why? You don't even come from a jacked up country per se. Why do you need to go over to Britain and claim to be British? You're part of the problem. You're not British. Let people have some breathing space. Fix up South Africa.
Did the space just get real quiet, or is my thing
No,
broke?
No.
it's crazy that he's over there claiming to be British and the white people are up in
Yeah.
South Africa claiming to be South African.
Right. These people are lunatics. Everybody just back up off and figure out what your background is because you're definitely not British.
listen,
And the crazy thing
no,
is
no, I
that
think
this
you know
this
what?
is not this is
I
not
think
being
we're trying to.
abrasive or pejorative.
I think
To give you
personally,
give you context, this is true. Like the world has lost its mind. We are who we are, and one of the problems with colonialism is tricking people into thinking that they're something that they're not. I speak English. I'm in the United States of America. I probably got an English relative or two. I don't want to find that out, but I'm probably going to find that out
Yeah,
pretty
you
soon.
do.
But I'm not an Englishman.
I don't claim to be an Englishman.
I'm a
You
foundational
asked me
Black
where I'm
You'll
American.
from.
never be.
I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about you. I said I'm not an Englishman.
Yeah, well, I don't.
I didn't say that you were claiming to be one.
I didn't claim to be an Englishman whatsoever. I told you that I'm African. That's what my
You said
heritage
you
is.
were.
You
Yeah,
said
Said
and
you
you.
were
now,
British.
yeah, that's where I was born. So of
Yeah.
course that will
No,
factor in.
no,
But
no,
if
no.
you
That
ask me about
doesn't
my
work like
heritage,
that. If I was born in China, would I be Chinese? Are you people losing your minds over there? Because I think you are.
Malcolm X said if a kitten gave birth if a cat gave birth to kittens in the oven, they wouldn't be called biscuits.
Okay, that's over my head. Tell you the truth, I got to read that again.
because
I got to
you
go
were
to college to
claiming.
figure that
No, hold
out.
on. You were claiming that the people that come here, yeah, are the
Yo,
reasons
I'm
why we've got all
yo,
claiming
these
this
problems.
this.
Is that
Hold up.
comedy
Hold up.
hour.
I'm claiming this. You just said American imperialism, and you squatted your tail right in the epicenter of where it all began. There wouldn't be an America if the British people wasn't fucking with those white people and making their raggedy asses come running over here screaming
so?
about
Listen,
taxes and
America is the head of the snake. So
Yeah.
sure.
trying to branch off.
No, it's not. No, he didn't. No, he didn't just say
What did
that.
he say?
He said America's ahead of the snake. Get the fuck
No,
out of
no, it
Hold
ain't.
on.
here.
No, it ain't.
What, can you
No,
let me
it
England
explain?
is ahead of
Can
the
you let
didn't.
me
snake, my
explain?
I've been
friend.
Can you
ahead
let
of
me
the snake.
explain?
There
Can you
was
let me?
no snake to, you need help.
Well, if you keep
Okay.
on muting me, then you
All
won't
them
actually understand what I'm
colonies,
trying to say.
all them colonies over
This
there in Africa. How many American colonies are in Africa?
Do you know how many countries America has invaded over the last 70 years?
Yeah,
they
I asked
didn't
how many.
invade
How
they
many?
didn't
Oh,
invade
oh,
Yo,
come
did he
you.
on.
just did he
He
Do you know
just
didn't
how many
jump
invade
over
Democratic
what
yours.
you
I
and
said?
you're
elected
you're
leaders?
You
serious, right?
cannot
You
You are.
trolling,
justify
Hold
right?
you
on.
cannot
I mean, you
justify
guys can keep
squatting
on
your butt in the
denying
U.
your
You
countries in.
cannot justify squatting in the UK. And here's another thing. I think that Africans need to watch some Holocaust videos because they definitely came through and deported people right into a gas chamber and they went up in smoke for years.
But
And
Africans did
those
that, did
people,
they?
shut up. The people that did that, the people that happened to, I want to point this out for you little arrogant, pushy, ignorant
I,
Africans.
I think you're projecting there.
Let me push this out for you. The people that got collected up, put in ghettos, put on cattle cars, and moved into concentration camps where they died by the millions. Those people weren't acting like you. Those people were being quiet and trying to live a normal life. They weren't arrogant buffoons
Are
like
you
you are.
serious?
So I shudder to think what's going to happen when they decide to scoop your asses up. I shudder to think.
And who's gonna scoop our asses
You
up?
I shudder to think what's going to happen when you get scooped up
Who's gonna
because
scoop our asses up again?
you're doing a million times more arrogant criminal behavior than
Uh,
people that
oh, how
died by
now?
6
And
million.
and who's
The
we?
people that died by 6 million. I'll put it like that. That's just an
Right.
Resco,
observation.
Okay.
Resco, you're acting like the white supremacists weren't turning up on y'all in the UK just a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I
They
didn't say
had
that.
them screaming in a room. Had them screaming in the room. You're not going to come and get see that
Listen,
attitude. And I saw a
listen.
lot of women
All I'm
coming
trying
on
to say.
TikTok talking about you better not do nothing to me.
Well,
I
the,
yes
the
you
professor keeps on
do
muting me,
you
so he's not allowing me
know
to speak.
somebody could collect your
Now you're
raggedy
lying on
asses
me.
up?
I haven't muted anybody.
Oh,
Well, I
I
mean, you keep
muted
on
him a
muting me
couple
every
of
time I try to
times
say
because
something.
he's you ain't saying
Well,
nothing.
well,
Why should we listen to
you're
you?
being very disingenuous, and you said America's ahead of the snake when
Well,
literally,
did you? Did
there's
you?
there's a street. Look up Lombard
You
Street
want me to explain? You
in UK.
want me to explain?
There's one
Do
street in
you want me
UK where
to?
they've devalued gold and
But
devalued
Do
silver,
you want
and
me
he
they
to
just
control
explain without muting?
everything.
he just said he was coming over here. I don't want to hear anything from this imbecile.
You want me to
Nothing.
explain?
He is
When
a
I
complete imbecile. He's squatting on the damn
well,
snake
you don't
and
want to have
talking
a
about
fair,
coming
honest
over to the head of
conversation
a
because you keep
snake.
on muting.
Take your butt
There
back to
you
where
go.
you
There you
came
go
from
again. You mute me. You don't want to
with
hear the
your
truth.
arrogant attitude that
You don't
needs
want
to
to
be
hear the truth.
permanently stopped.
You don't want to hear
What
the truth.
truth?
Well,
The truth is you're a
Well,
squatter.
I can't. I don't want to hear the truth from you, sir, because in all honesty, you said America's ahead of the snake, and you said that somehow with an English accent. Let me educate you. I mean, like, what the fuck? Am I in a Bond movie or some shit? Like, dude, England is the head of, is the source of evil. So much so that every villain in a goddamn cartoon since I've been born had an English accent. Furthermore, there is one street in England. Look up Lombard Street. There's a street with criminals who have devalued gold and silver such to inflate a paper dollar to control the fucking world. I'm gonna end on this note. What's the saying? The sun shall never set on the English Empire. That's because y'all took over so many goddamn places that there was a the sun was shining on a British flag somewhere. Let's not even talk about how you would make games with babies by sticking their head in the sand and paying the highest bidder to who could kick their fucking head off the furthest. Don't come to me with that bullshit, dude. Unfortunately, you're in the source of evil, and I could keep going, but I don't want to out a certain family.
listen.
Why would I listen to somebody with this kind of brain? Sitting up, crawling
We
his
just said
raggedy
we
ass
just
over to
said.
somebody
I'm sorry.
else's country to talk shit with their accent
Can I
back at
respond?
us and
Can I respond?
telling me that you're British and talking about how bad these
Or you keep on,
white countries are, but you rolled your ass over
you
there.
don't want to hear the truth, so you keep on muting me.
You
I mean,
you guys need to be physically
if you're interested in honest
removed.
discussion, then you
If
stop muting me and let me
anybody should
respond.
be removed
But
from a
no, you're
country,
going to
it's
obfuscate because
this.
you
If
can't, you're not
anybody
making
should
any
be
sense.
removed from Europe, this should be removed.
Okay, well, let me explain. Now, I'm not absolving
No.
How
Britain.
how
Um,
long did it take for you to convince yourself to even speak the word honest out your mouth?
well, if you let me explain,
I
perhaps
want
maybe
you
you
to
might
just
get
know
it.
that.
But you
We
don't want
don't
to have an
want to
honest,
hear it.
forthright discussion
No,
about
we
it, do you?
don't. You're
Okay. Well, let me
dismissed. You are
explain.
just
When I said,
roasting
when I said,
material.
when I said to you,
Sir, you are nothing but something to roast. No one wants to hear your
you guys are
sentences.
38 trillion in debt, and you, apparently you think the rest of the
Who
world is
are
to
you
blame.
talking?
Are you serious?
I'm not.
Check
I am
yourselves
not
first.
38 trillion in
Well,
debt. I
the
guarantee you
pound
that.
Check
sterling
yourselves
became
first.
worthless before the dollar.
Is
So,
he
You know?
comparing
congratulations, you
You've got
beat
countries?
us to it.
transgenderism
Is
in
he
your
comparing
school.
countries with?
You know, you got,
Is he? Does he think he's in a? This? Wait. Is this Nimrod comparing countries as though he
I think
has a
so.
country?
you've got 750 American
Is this what
military
he's
bases
doing?
around the world. You've got
Oh,
wars all
oh,
over the
okay. This
joint,
has to
and
be a joke.
apparently you think the rest of the world is to blame. Seriously, invaded over 160 countries. Yeah, that's right, overtly and covertly destabilizing these nations over a period of 60 years, creating
Name those
institutions like the World Bank
160
and
countries,
the
Yo, you
IMF
motherfucker.
sound
to
funny.
control these nations, and now you think that the
Yo,
rest of the
this
world is
is
to
Oh
blame.
man,
Are you
this
serious?
is
communism.
why I end
Oh
up
my
Are
God.
you
cursing. Okay,
serious?
This is
now
it's the pot
Yeah.
calling the kettle
this
black,
is
Do you know what I
man.
why
mean?
I end up
You've
cursing
gone
in
into these
public.
Arab countries, you've destabilized them, you've caused a whole bunch of civil unrest instigating civil unrest in these countries. You've murdered
Really?
millions and millions of people, and apparently the rest of the world is
Sir,
to
sir,
blame.
I've
That
had
sounds
it.
like
Are you
you.
serious?
Ghana's
Have a nice
president.
day, sir.
Ask the president of Ghana
That's all I
how
can
That
how
handle.
was
the
very
Congressional Black
inflammatory.
Caucus been going
I
over
couldn't
there
handle it
advocating
anymore.
for him.
He fixed his
The
mouth
fuck?
to say America's the head of the
I
snake with the English
can't
accent.
deal
He
with
really
it.
said that shit.
My nerves, my nerves.
Yeah,
Like
our Congressional Black Caucus is practically about to save the cocoa industry in the country of Ghana. The fuck you mean? We still helping y'all,
What?
and we ain't even helping our goddamn selves.
I can't even troll on this one because I mean it's like common knowledge that the head of evil, possibly
I
the headquarters of Satan himself, is in England.
right.
Like I can't even troll on it. Like
It's
I'm like, what
too
the fuck?
much.
Like I can't
He's
troll
not
on it.
even trolling. He really has convinced himself that he's British and that his country is doing better than ours and that I am in $38 trillion of debt. I don't have any money. Leave me alone. What is he talking about?
Yeah, and he was talking like the Africans over in the UK weren't just crying on live social media in their flats, crying afraid that to go outside because the white supremacists was over there turning up on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you would have told me I would be rooting for those guys to win, I would have called you every kind of liar under the I would have thought you were on mega crack.
That bullshit re-energized me. Hey, True New, what you got?
I just want to say something real quick to the title.
Go ahead.
To me personally, what I think, first of all, thank you for even letting me. I know you're about to close. Um, to me personally, I think the thug on the street is the less dangerous one, and the reason why I say that is because I grew up in the hood neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? My cousins was in the streets. Me personally, I wasn't, but I've seen it. I've been around it, and most of the things that we see happen in the black community, as far as like people bugging out and doing drastic things, do be because of survival. And I'm pretty sure somebody said this already in this conversation. Be because of survival. Most of
Facts.
the things that we see these white people be don't be because of survival. It be because of actual something's going on with them that like drives them to do it, whether it be drugs or whatever. And I want to say this, and I'm gonna leave on this. Y'all should go watch that show, Fight Night, with Kevin Hart and all of that. Because that for some reason, when I watched that, struck a chord in me and made me go down a deep dive. I'm still deep diving in this, but this is just where I'm at with it. I'm gonna share it with y'all. When we be thinking about our people in the streets and the crime and the drugs and all of that, it seems like that started around Vietnam when they was bringing in the drugs through. Now I know there was drugs like morphine and all of that's always been in the black community, but as far as the distribution aspect of it, it's not just like recreational use. As far as the organized crime and all of that, I don't believe that we were on some organized crime prior to intermingling with immigrants and other
We never were unorganized. We don't have organized crime.
yes.
We're not organized.
And
We
still
need
don't.
It
some.
seems
No.
like the only thing that was quote unquote crime that we ever did was literally doing things independent, like having these independent speakeasies or gambling
Yeah,
spots and stuff like
exactly.
that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, just speaking to the topic of the space, that's why I think the PhD is a little bit more is dangerous, more is in bigger danger than the thug, because the thug really just needs to be nurtured at a certain age to not turn into that. He's not born like that.
And you know what I'm saying? There's certain people in these PhDs areas that's literally born for a certain role. Like there's like, when my son get this age, he gonna do this and he gonna do that. Like you were saying with the England and the bank and their whole banking and everything and all of that. So yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, man, that dude, exactly. Dude gonna come here trying to say America's ahead of the snake when there's a street. Y'all look it up. Look up Lombard Street. There's a street in, and I'm gonna be careful. I don't want to cancel my page and talk about a certain group of people who Andy may refer to a lot. But they really got together and decided on um, creating a fake fucking a paper currency to control the whole goddamn world. And he's telling me America's ahead of the snake. Man, that's just that. Like the sad thing is, like Wani said, I think he really believes that, which is very
Yeah,
sad.
Professor, he didn't want to say Jekyll Island.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. Like, all that shit goes back to England.
Well, you know,
All that whole
nobody wants to take
uh,
accountability. Remember, I said we speak about without no causation. So, of course, an African would be defending Britain to Black Americans. I mean, it just makes sense.
What did I just listen to?
You
That's because he don't want to go back. They don't want to go back and help their people.
Of course
A
they
lot
don't.
of them have become traitors of their own people.
Well, they were traitors of us first. So when
exactly.
they join our spaces, I think it takes a pair of balls the size of King Kong to talk to Black Americans about evil and you're African. You know what? I'm a pretty bold person, but
African with an English
My
accent.
God, just to get in front of Black people and be an African and talk about evil, you have to have, I don't know what type of, oh my goodness, let me not.
And I
I
think that
mean,
and I think that one of the major things confusion is because it was so comfortable for so long. Like you said, we Oprah and them building schools in Africa and all of that. So it's so comfortable for them to just come over here and just like latch on to us. And most of us don't see it. Most of us don't see it. And even if you don't have no animosity, anything, it's still something that needs to be done because it's like we really be catching hell for things as a group, for things that these individuals come in. We have to do, and we have to go into survival mode for no reason. There's nothing that we didn't do. Our kids, we gotta extra protect our kids for certain reasons. Was nothing that we didn't cause. That ain't even part of our culture, our value system. So it's like it just has to be done. Whether you do it, with vengeance, or whether you do it peacefully, it just needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? My people's from
Okay.
Alabama too. My people's from
Yeah,
Alabama, Mississippi. All
we
that.
have two separate fights. We have two separate fights on our respective land masses. Even those who have our similar phenotype skin color. We've been fighting these troglodyte Neanderthals under the U.S. Census classifies white European mafia peasant criminals for centuries on our ancestors' soil. They've been fighting people that have the same skin complexion for centuries on their ancestors' soil. We got two separate fights. So for him to come in this space and we on just a higher level, no disrespect, you're not even you was never really a concern to us because we have the epigenetics of Jim Crow, American chattel enslavement, wealth enterprise, mass incarceration, medical apartheid in our epigenetics. We know who we've been fighting. We
No
thought
cap.
anybody that had our skin complexion similar to us, no matter where they was on the planet, they were experiencing what we were experiencing, and we was gonna help them no matter where the fuck they was at on the planet. And we've proven that through blood, economics, tears, death. We put it all on the line because of how we move. We assume that everybody move like we move. And that was an error on us, and we correcting. We, like my brother Denmark says, we self-correcting right now. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. This is about us. It's gonna
Yeah,
be some
yeah.
battles. It's gonna be some straight up fair ones. It's gonna be some fights.
Which brings up another point. Like,
But we concerned about us.
why did he seek us out? Like, why didn't he find his own little room to complain about?
exactly.
I was watching a documentary on a
Hey
movie I can't
professor,
find.
hey
Yeah,
professor,
can you?
no matter who comes in and tries to interrupt what's happening, they ain't gonna be able to do nothing about it anyway. I don't give a fuck because see, our
Right.
ancestors have chosen us right now to be where we are, and there's more of us involved. This is deeper than just natural. This is spiritual and natural. We
Totally.
connecting back with our people. Speak my peace.
I was watching a movie years ago that I can't find anymore. It's called what's that movie with Tom Cruise? Eyes Wide Shut. And I was watching a documentary, not a movie. That was on Eyes Wide Shut, and they said that's Stanley Kubrick, the director, mysteriously died. Like he was trying to talk about a certain secret society that I'm not going to mention on this page. Well, and he said that they were saying that he revealed a lot in Eyes Wide Shut, which is what led to his death that they speculated. But that castle that they filmed that sequence in was in England. It's so much evil shit going on in England, man. I
He
can't even say it on this page. Like,
he was trying to compare. We're just an offshoot doing colonial BS compared to them. They started the age of exploration and started going out doing every manner of things, hiring different, you know, countries to sail for them. Yeah, they're right. They're the epicenter of it all.
epicenter, totally. All right, Seventh Ward will have last words. Go ahead, Seventh
All
Ward.
right, thank you for giving me the last word. And from what I got from this space, because I try to become educated from this space, is that we need not only street knowledge, we need sweet knowledge. And we need to combine that knowledge into strategies, how we are going to ensure our prosperity and success in the defeat of white supremacy. And with that, I say good night, and I yield the mic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all. I learned a lot, and I'm gonna be looking at that recording and taking notes. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.